Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto becomes a time traveler sage. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by SarthakBikramPanta and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Introduction Archi. No one would be able to blame Naori Uchiha for being pessimistic about her situation. As she slung her cousin Naka over her shoulder, her one lone functioning eye wandered over to the group of Kusa ninjas who were looking at the two tired Uchiha with something akin to disdain in their eyes. The dead members of the second Uchiha platoon had made the ground turn as deep red as the hair of a Uzumaki. Near the border between the land of earth and the land of grass, the second Uchiha platoon had completed their objective. Naori cursed the heavens for its divine irony. They had won, but discord had been sown over their forbidden technique and soon the entire platoon was at each other's throats. Of the 40-strong platoon, only Naori and Naka remained. Naka was barely conscious, his brown hair thin and his eyes nearly turning upward in a telltale sign of coming unconsciousness. Naori was in a better condition, but she could not fight off an enemy platoon. As her legs trembled with the task of carrying Naka and herself, Naori closed her eye and scrounged up the last remnant of chakra inside of her and opened her eye again as the pinwheel of the Sharingan flared to life before morphing into a three-petal pattern. Her pinwheel eye and fluttering purple hair made for an intimidating figure even in her fatigued situation. The platoon leader of the Kusa ninjas stepped forward, conspicuously not meeting her eye. He had recognized the Sharingan. Konoha ninja. You are violating the neutrality of the land of grass and Kusagakure. Come peacefully. Naori set her jaw so hard that it sent a jolt of pain throughout her skull. Her only functioning eye swerved to her cousin slung across her shoulder before focusing on the hostile platoon in front of her. Though the body language of the Kusanin was non-threatening. All of them were watching her carefully, perfectly willing to cave her skull in with one precise attack if she tried anything. The dull green flak jackets twinkled in the afternoon sun, belying the danger that hid beneath them. Their faces were completely blank. Naori cursed mentally. It was just her luck that it was an elite Kusa platoon that had caught up to her. Truthfully speaking, the idea of surrendering was tempting. The land of fire and land of grass were nominally at peace. Unless the land of grass wished to admit that they were flouting their neutrality by taking sides with Iwa and the land of earth, then they would be treaty obliged to return her and Naka to Konoha. But as her eyes focused on the platoon leader, she steeled herself for a fight. They won't return me and Naka. We will be lost on the way and suddenly find ourselves in an Iwa torture chamber. Platoon leader. I acknowledge the authority of Kusanin on grass territory. Naori began as her eyes darted toward the silver-white hair of the opposing platoon leader. Naori once again cursed her luck. The silver-white hair of Kusa featured in nightmares throughout the elemental nations. The Hana clan of Kusa, or as they were more commonly known, the Grass Flower Group, had earned a reputation for being ferocious defenders of Kusa for a reason. Ignoring the fear bubbling up in her gut, Naori pushed her hair's bangs aside and continued. However, you are impeding an official Konoha mission and inquiry. As such I cannot in good conscience hand myself and my comrade over. Then Jonin Uchiha, we are at an impasse. Came the smooth reply of the platoon leader. The circular pattern of his eyes looked down upon Naori with perfect neutrality. Naori tried to find a weakness in his guard. But just as she was ready to leap forward for a surprise attack, the platoon leader let out his chakra to saturate the air. Naori choked and fell to her knees. She just barely managed to catch Naka from face planting to the ground. A sinister and hot chakra that the Hana clan was known for saturated the air. It felt like being burned alive. Yet there wasn't even a small ember attacking her. The sheer heat of the platoon leader's hostile chakra only added to the growing fear in Naori's gut. Trying to attack me, Jonin Uchiha is not only a bad idea, but it also reinforces the opinion that whatever your mission was, it went against the laws of the land of grass. Naori managed to regain her bearings slowly as she gently lowered Naka to the ground. She looked into the eye of the barely conscious Naka and ensnared him with a simple sleeping illusion, forcing Naka to fall asleep instantaneously. Taking a deep breath, she turned to face the platoon leader once again, trying to shake off the sheer density of the chakra the platoon leader was using to saturate the air around him. The platoon leader looked at her with an impassive gaze before tossing his silver hair with a sense of finality. He waved his hand. Just as fast, other Kusanin leaped forward, ready to apprehend her and Naka. Though they stood more than 50 feet away from her, they were making quick progress towards her. Naori clutched her sword tightly. But neither Naori nor the grass nin would physically engage each other. As the Kusanin made their way halfway through the field littered with bodies of the Uchiha clansmen, a body fell from the sky, landing in front of Naori and Naka with a sickening crunch. The Kusanin stopped immediately. Naori lowered her sword slightly. Both she and the Kusanin gawked at the strange scene in front of them. The body in front of her was definitely a man. The man's blood-red hair seemed to blend in with the blood-soaked fields around him, taking in a deep saturation of the red color that Naori didn't think was possible. His hairy spike stood up in an unruly manner, resembling the tall grasses that named the land of grass. With his hair color and the round face he had, the man also reminded Naori strongly of a tomato. The only thing that broke the resemblance was the long three-whisker lines on the man's face that seemed to make him look vaguely like a fox. Wearing nothing but a fishnet shirt and orange pants, the man groaned and seemed to scrape at the ground to pick himself up. The man picked himself up and groaned, clutching his bruised sides warily before noticing the spectacle around him. He suddenly stood up and looked around with a sense of both urgency and embarrassment. He rubbed the back of his neck as a blush seemed to force its way into his face. "Ah, this is embarrassing. Who are you?" The Kusa platoon leader growled out, his chakra presence becoming almost too stifling to bear for the tired and injured Naori. The Redeed's whiskers wobbled a bit as his fox-like eyes narrowed a bit, having evidently felt the growing chakra saturation being sent out by the platoon leader as a measure of intimidation. The Redeed patted his back and let the dust on his shirt and pants fall down, shaking his body a bit. The Redeed's azure blue eyes flickered towards Naori, widening a fraction as they made eye contact. Naori didn't mean to do it, but she had been pushing chakra into her Sharingan in preparation for a defense, and her Mangekyo acted subconsciously pulling the Redeed into a Jinjutsu. Nothing happened. Naori's mouth fell slightly as the Redeed turned to the Kusa platoon leader nonchalantly. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." The Redeed answered with an even tone, though it had a hint of steel in it. Naori grasped her sword tightly. With that hair coloring, she supposed she should have guessed the Redeed in front of her was in Uzumaki. Yet still, Uzushio, the homeland of the Uzumakis, had been wiped out by Kiri during the ending stages of the Second Great Shinobi War. As far as everyone knew, there was only one remaining Uzumaki who lived in Konoha. She knew that the supposed last Uzumaki was the girlfriend of one of her cousin senseis. Of course, it made sense that some were still scattered throughout the nations, keeping themselves hidden. Kiri and even Kumo would jump at the chance to slaughter an uncounted Uzumaki. Yet this Naruto guy just gave out his name without fear. Evidently, the platoon leader recognized the name. His eyes widened a bit before he reined in the level of chakra he was leaking, plastering a diplomatic smile on his face. "Mr. Uzumaki. You have accidentally, I am sure, stumbled into an official inquiry of the land of grass. Please make yourself scarce. If you wish for lodging and the such, then Kusagakure is not far from here. Simply go north for a few hours." The now identified Naruto Uzumaki inclined his head and then, much to the surprise of everyone in the vicinity, began to laugh. "Oh man, I'm in the land of grass. Why is this funny to you, Mr. Uzumaki?" the platoon leader asked, tilting his head and seemingly genuinely curious. "Well, see, I was meddling with this old unidentified ceiling matrix in the land of waterfall that I found and added some of my own variations to it. I pushed my chakra into and boom. Well, you all saw what happened," came the guffawed answer as the Uzumaki seemed to still be in the throes of his own laughter. "Mr. Uzumaki." The platoon leader paused. Even the other Kusanin, who hadn't let their guard drop, went noticeably still. "Are you quite possibly an idiot?" Though the platoon leader was at this moment her enemy, Naori agreed with his assessment. She wasn't a master in the arts of Fuinjutsu at all and knew only the basics from the academy and what her sensei had taught her, but even she knew that meddling with unidentified seals was a horrible idea. Feeling her opinion about the newcomer Uzumaki sinking, she shuffled to protect Naka's sleeping frame against any surprise attack that she knew was coming. She felt her violet eyebrow twitch in irritation as the Redeed continued to guffaw and chuckle in acceptance at the Kusa platoon leader's sarcastic question. "Enough of this chat," came the voice of one of the other Kusanin. "Get out of the way, Mr. Uzumaki. This is land of grass business. We have entertained you long enough." Suddenly the Uzumaki's demeanor changed. He stopped laughing and his posture grew rigid as his eyes flickered to every single one of the Kusaninjas. His eyes flickered towards Naori again, resting on the Konoha forehead protector that she wore proudly. He placed his hands inside the pockets of his pants and smiled apologetically. The smile did not reach his eyes. "Ah, I truly am sorry. But as part of the treaty that allowed the Uzumaki clan to break away from the Senju clan, it was decreed that the Uzumaki would forever be the Senju clan's ally. That means that every ally of the Senju is an ally of the Uzumaki. Due to the treaty between Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, the Uchiha are also Uzumaki allies." Naori's Sharingan barely kept up with the chaos that unfolded afterward. The platoon leader was about to respond when chains broke out of the ground and grabbed each one of the Kusa ninjas. Gleaming golden chains tightened around the bodies of the Kusa ninja as they gasped at the sudden attack. The platoon leader gasped and with quick hand seals, he tried to melt off the chains. The chains held. The Uzumaki looked at the Kusa ninja with hard sky blue eyes before turning to Naori, who took a step back despite the man's proclamation. Whoa. The Uzumaki raised his hands in a calming manner. He leaned towards Naori, peering at her. I am not going to hurt you. Not after I restrained them for you and that sleeping beauty next to you. Naori didn't lower her sword. She raised her working eyes, eyebrowed him, and continued to build her chakra. Why did you interfere? Naruto was about to answer when the platoon leader interrupted them, continuing to shout various jutsu names in a vain and futile effort to escape the chains. Scratching his head, Naruto made the tiger seal, and a new chain emerged from the ground which bound the Kusa ninja's hands and gagged him. Naruto turned back to Naori and spread his arms in another placating manner. You did hear what I told that guy over there, right? You could be double-crossing me. Naori pointed out as she continued to train her eye on the retreat. The opposing Uzumaki made eye contact with her Mangekyo Sharingan without fear, looking at the legendary Pinwheel of the Uchiha clan without even blinking. How? Why is my illusion not affecting him at all? Well nah, I'm not, believe it. The retreat grinned at her, making her eye twitch in irritation again. The carefree and reckless manners of the Uzumaki in front of her managed to push every single one of her buttons. Suddenly the Uzumaki's grin melted away into a contemplative gaze. Hey Uchiha girl, have we met before? Your face seems to be familiar. Naori didn't deign to answer the asinine question. One of the Kusa ninjas managed to loosen the chains holding them a bit and fired a fireball at Naruto's back. Before Naori could react, she was lifted up by the annoying Uzumaki and then thrown into the air. Naka's sleeping frame received the same treatment. A frozen scream escaped her mouth as the fireball passed through onto the trees harmlessly as she tried to regain her balance in midair to catch Naka and land safely. Before she could turn around to do so, she was caught in the warm arms of the Uzumaki and let down gently. She was inclined to slap him, but fear for Naka made her snap her head towards Naka with such speed that she was sure she pulled a muscle. A clone of the annoying Uzumaki caught Naka's body and gently deposited him on the ground. Sighing with relief, anger flooded every cell of her being. Why in Kami's name? Naruto didn't answer her spluttered and angry shouting as he looked back at the Kusa ninja and tightened the chains wordlessly before turning to look at her with an apologetic grin. Ah, sorry about that. Though his smile was apologetic, the twinkle in his deep blue eyes only spoke of mischief to the purple-haired Uchiha. Gritting her teeth, she suppressed the growing anger inside of her. Despite his troublesome manners, he had just saved her and Naka 2 times. She took a deep breath before loosening herself. Mr. Uzumaki, what are your intentions here? Wandering refugee shinobi do not just save village-affiliated ninja for no apparent reason. Naruto pouted at her serious tone. Ah poo. What is it with you Uchihas and the stick up your behinds? All of you need emotional psychology, I swear. Loud 1 second and deathly serious the other. Is it too hard to believe that I would just like to keep my clan pride by honoring one of my clan's oldest tenets? Refusing to let the insult to her clan rattle her, Naori plowed forward. Well, what is it that you want? Well, I guess I've had it with being a wandering refugee shinobi like you mentioned. Naruto shrugged, absent-mindedly cracking his knuckles one by one. And Uzumaki will always be welcome in Konoha, right? Why now? Naori asked suspiciously as she maintained eye contact with Naruto, trying to ensnare him into a truth illusion with her Sharingan, but failing again. Gritting her teeth in irritation at having failed thrice to make him fall in her Jinjutsu, she continued with her question. Uzushio fell more than a decade ago. You could have come to Konoha any time. Why now? Why nearly 13 years after the fall of Uzushiogakure and the destruction of the Land of Whirlpools? Ah, I was only 7 years old when the Land of Whirlpools fell to the forces of the Land of Water, Naruto answered with a nonchalance that bordered on indifference at the mention of the destruction of the ancestral homeland of the Uzumaki clan. I was fortunate enough to have been smuggled out by some jonin. I wandered around for a bit, grew up, and here I am. Naori narrowed her eye at the man and shook off the realization that the man in front of her was the same age as her. She was about to question him further when Naruto interrupted her before she could speak, waving her concerns away. I mean, Konoha will not say no to an Uzumaki whose bloodline is active, right? I mean, you do see the adamantine chain suppressing the Kusa ninja behind us, right? Naori's eyes twitched at the victorious and light tone of the redeeted menace in front of her. The worst thing is that he's right. With the war starting to erupt in full swing, we need all the bloodlines and help we can get. Lord Hoage would never turn down an errant Uzumaki claiming refuge in Konoha. Naori sighed, feeling mentally tired from the banter between herself and the Uzumaki. There had once been a time when the Uzumaki had been the second most hated clan amongst the Uchiha clan. After all, they were the most steadfast allies of the Senju clan and were blood related with them. Behind every Senju platoon, there was always a Uzumaki sealing platoon during the Warring States era. But those days were long gone. Like the Redeed had mentioned before, with the union of the Senju and Uchiha to establish Konohagakure, the Uzumaki became Uchiha allies as well. She sheathed her sword and nodded slightly. Very well. You can accompany me and my cousin back to Konoha. But no sudden movements and stay in front of me throughout the journey." Naruto nodded with an easy smile before he frowned. "I am not going to be carrying your cousin for hundreds of kilometers all the way into the land of fire. I can handle." Naori's reply was snapped shut when she saw Naruto race forward and seal Naka's sleeping body inside of a sealing scroll. As Naruto walked forward and handed her the scroll with a cheeky smile, Naori tried to suppress an angry scream that threatened to break out of her. The Uchiha Uzumaki duo then turned towards the direction of the land of fire and left. The Kusa platoon leader just stood there and raised an eyebrow before his eyes widened in alarm. He swore mentally with a wild and animalistic growl that made his comrades land their exasperated eyes on him. "That bastard left us here. Curse these damned chains. I will get back to you for this, Naruto Uzumaki. Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? For the love of Amaterasu, no. And in Susanao's holy name, what in God's name is making that racket? That would be your cousin waking up and struggling inside the seal." "What? So not that I don't appreciate you helping me and my cousin, but did you have to seal me inside that scroll? Well, it did make traveling faster, didn't it?" "Well, yes, but still. Being stuck in a scroll is not something I want to experience ever again." "Come on, don't lie. You liked it. How did you know? I seal myself into scrolls and then plop into some traveler's pockets when I'm feeling bored to run by myself. It's comfy, isn't it?" "Surprisingly, yeah. Both of you are idiots." In front of the great gates of Konohagakure no Sado, Naori finally let a sigh of relief escape from her body. Pushing her purple bangs aside, she went to the border guard and handed her mission scroll to the guard. The guard nodded at her and Naka before landing his gaze at the annoying Redeed. Throughout the week that they had traveled together, the Redeeded menace hadn't stopped irritating her at all. She felt her eye twitch as she overheard Naka and Naruto commiserating at the comforts of being sealed in a scroll again. What's worse is that he's roped Naka into his annoying ways as well. The guardsmen turned to her with a questioning look on their visage. Naori knew that Konoha needed all the shinobi it could get for the war, but still on a subconscious level, she wondered if introducing Naruto to her village was a good idea. Not because she thought that the Redeed would be a hidden spy or something, but because she did not like the prospect of dealing with this Redeed for the rest of her life. She twitched violently as Naruto blew a raspberry in greeting to the gate guards. She let out a defeated sigh. "This is Naruto Uzumaki. He is a wandering Uzumaki refugee who helped me and Naka during the last stage of the mission. He has come here to seek refuge in Konoha." The guard turned to Naruto, noting his red hair. He smiled and spoke up. "Of course. It's always an honor to have a Uzumaki in Konoha. Ah, but I apologize, Mr. Uzumaki. It is war protocol to cuff you with chakra cuffs and take you to the intelligence division. I am sure you understand the need for this." Naruto nodded happily and offered his hands. Only a slight upturn of his grin and the growing twinkle in his eyes gave an indication for the mischief that was sure to follow. Naori didn't dare predict what the Redeed was going to do. As the guard brought out chakra cuffs and cuffed Naruto before turning around, Naori's eyes bulged out as she saw the words "juicy" written on the back of the guard's flak jacket with an arrow pointing downwards at the guards behind. Naori hadn't even seen the Redeed whip out a pen and write it out during the small interaction. Snickering, Naruto threw a marker back to Naka, who was trying and failing to hide his laughter. She turned her eyes heavenward and prayed for strength. She was going to need it. As his blue eyes swept through the familiar yet foreign village, Naruto's resolve strengthened. None of the guards saw his hands curling into fists. "Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke. Sakura. Kurama. Hinata. Mum. Dad. Obito. Everyone. I will save you. Believe it." Chapter 2. Introduction Arc 2. Hiruzen Sarutobi took a deep drag from his pipe as he observed the two Uchiha in front of him. Both of them were standing nervously, not at all acting in the manner befitting two powerful shinobi who had always served Konoha to the best of their capabilities. His eyes drifted to the mission scroll before he set his pipe down softly on the office desk. He smoothened his graying hair and expanded his senses, observing the chakra fluctuations of the two shinobi in front of him. Stapling his fingers together, the second god of shinobi leaned forward on his desk, his dark eyes trained on his two shinobi. "Before I even ask about the foreign shinobi waiting outside my office, may I ask how a 40-man strong platoon made up of the most elite members of your clan was decimated to just two shinobi?" "Lord Hoage, before I begin on my mission report regarding that matter, I must preface by asking you to keep an open mind," Naori murmured in a low voice, her head facing downwards, unwilling to meet the eyes of her village leader. Her purple hair fell limply to her sides, whilst Naka remained quiet with a grimace on his face. Hiruzen felt his hidden ambush shuffle at the perceived disrespect. One of them had their hands on their short sword, ready to unsheath it. Bursting his chakra to make them back down, Hiruzen leaned back on his chair before motioning Naori to continue quietly with a wave of his wrinkling hands. We forced the Iowa scouting party to fall back. The Kamizuru platoon was then encircled and destroyed, with very few among them managing to escape back to the border of the land of Earth. Naori recited in a neutral voice. She hugged her tired body limply, trying to maintain a rigid body in front of her leader, but her growing fatigue made it impossible. However, we only won due to the use of a forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan. The Jinjutsu that warps reality. Izanagi, Hiruzen muttered as the two Uchiha snapped their heads toward him in surprise. Honestly, it was like the new generations forgot that he was a fighter first and foremost and knew all the techniques that were hidden within the walls of Konohagakure. Is that why both of you are currently blind in one eye? Naka answered for Naori. His lone functioning eye observing Naori's fatigue with a guilt-driven focus. Yes, Lord Hoage. The Iowa ninja knew about our ambush. Likely they had some hidden scouts along the way that we could not sense. Instead, we fell into their ambush and to preserve the sanctity of our mission, we began to use our forbidden technique. We only lost one member due to Izanagi. Without it, most of us would have likely perished and the rest would be tortured in Iowa until we broke. Naori nodded stiffly as she hummed softly, making Naka fall silent as she picked up the report. She pushed the bangs of her hair backward. But the Izanagi has a corrupting streak. As rare as it was on the battlefield, no one felt it before, but with so many using it at the same time, it led to many of our soldiers losing their minds and fighting over the Izanagi and their visual prowess with it. Hiruzen let out a tired sigh as he suddenly understood what had happened. And so they turned one another and slaughtered each other. I understand what happened now. And what about you two? Did you use the Izanagi as well? Naka shuffled guiltily from one foot to the other. He nodded. I used the Izanagi as well. Like the others, I became afflicted with its madness as well. After some time, it was only me and Naori left. She had hidden and tried to talk the others and me out of our stupor. Finally, with only me left, she countered the Izanagi and its aftereffects on me. Izanami. Hiruzen took a small drag from his pipe in understanding, with a look of appreciation overcoming his face as he observed Naori. The last person to learn that forbidden technique was Kagami Uchiha. You do your clan proud, Jonin Uchiha. Thank you, Lord Hoage. Naori inclined her head, letting a small smile overcome her features. Uncle Kagami taught me the technique himself. Hiruzen took the mission scroll and quickly scribbled some sentences on it before sealing it into another scroll. He looked up and addressed the two Uchiha in the room. The loss of 38 Uchiha clansmen in one swoop is not appreciated. Jonin Naka Uchiha, you shall be on probation for 3 months for succumbing to the forbidden technique. Nonetheless, I am happy that at least 2 of you survived. If you wish for it, you can get an eye transplant for your blind eyes. It won't be a Sharingan, but a non-Sharingan eye is better than no eye at all. Now, can someone explain the foreign shinobi to me? At the end of the mission, as I picked up Naka to turn back, we were intercepted by a Kusa platoon. Naori began, her hands moving nervously along the hem of her outfit. They tried to take me and Naka prisoner. The foreigner intervened. How so? He fell from the sky. It took all of Naori's internal strength to answer that with a straight face. As it was, she had to stifle a small smile from overtaking her face as she felt Hiruzen's confused stare. According to him, he had a ceiling accident that catapulted him and made him land in front of me just as the Kusa ninjas were advancing. I see, Hiruzen muttered, raising an eyebrow in thought. Ceiling accident. Not an accident anyone would want to experience for sure. Ceiling accidents, by their very nature, are explosive and destructive. He then introduced himself as Naruto Uzumaki. Naori continued, this time with a smaller voice as she spoke the name aloud, emphasizing the clan name. Hiruzen's eyes widened as he heard the clan name. Uzumaki. Hiruzen tried the name slowly. It was one of his greatest failures after all. Konoha had mobilized 3 divisions to aid Uzushio when it was besieged by Kiri. But the divisions had arrived too late. Led by his student Tsunade, they had arrived to the horrific site of the once great home of the Uzumakis, decimated, burned, and salted to the ground. Uzushio delenda est had been written on one of the gate walls. The horrific words written in the language of the western continent had taunted his forces for their failure. It had been one of the contributing causes for the end of the Second Great Shinobi War. Though Konoha won on the western front, the eastern front had been a failure. He's in Uzumaki. Are you sure? Naori nodded stiffly. Yes. He has the characteristic red hair. And he used the adamantine sealing chains during the fight to restrain the Kusa ninja. His chains look like the chains of Ms. Uzumaki exactly. Hiruzen stroked the tip of his beard in thought as he heard that. Another Uzumaki. After so long. Jiraiya did mention that some were scattered throughout the nations, still, we thought Kushina to be the last legitimately confirmed Uzumaki left. For Kushina's sake, I hope that this Uzumaki is who he says he is. It would be cruel to find family after a decade only to find out it was a false veneer. Very well. Jonin Uchiha. You may leave. Go to the hospital and check up on yourselves. Jonin Naori Uchiha, before you leave, please send in the Uzumaki. Hiruzen ordered clearly with a firm tone, his eyes trained on the door of his office. Both the Uchiha bowed their head. Naka body flickered out whilst Naori left via the door. A minute later Hiruzen heard shuffling as the door opened again. Red hair peeked inside as half-lidded blue eyes observed the professor with a sense of mischievousness. My word. He even looks like Kushina. The same shade of red hair. The roundness of their face. And that twinkle in the eye. Naruto Uzumaki? Hiruzen questioned with a tilt of his head, letting his graying hair fall by the wayside a bit. Please come in and sit down. The words made it look like it was a request, but it wasn't. The Uzumaki clearly understood that. His azure eyes snapped up in attention and his posture straightened out. He strode forward, ignoring his cuffed hands, and sat down comfortably in front of the supreme military leader of the Land of Fire. His eyes maintained eye contact with the Hoage. Hiruzen looked at the man's body frame before looking up again. Even his body frame. It resembles Kazama so much. Kushina would hate to see someone who resembles her father so much. Mr. Uzumaki. Let me begin by thanking you for saving 2 of my shinobi. Hiruzen began, eyeing the Uzumaki in front of him. I assume you wish to gain asylum with Konoha. Naruto nodded vigorously. Yeah, that would be awesome, old man. The gasp could be heard as the hidden Anbu all bristled at the tone that the Uzumaki had leveled with the Hoage. Their chakra began leaking out, but the Uzumaki seemed unfazed. Hiruzen, personally, felt his right eye twitch in irritation. Even in manners, he could see the resemblance between Naruto and Kushina. I'm only 55. That's not old, young man. The FFT. Naruto waved his cuffed hands around dismissively. You're almost twice my age. You're old. Old old. Why you, one of the Anbu snarled quietly and seemed to be getting ready to burst out and attack the Reteed in front of Hiruzen. Hiruzen had half a mind to allow the Anbu to do what he wished, but in the end, Hiruzen subtly sent a motion with his left hand, which was hanging to his side still, to stand down. I suppose. Hiruzen inclined his head in acceptance. Mr. Uzumaki, you will have to forgive me. But this is wartime. I cannot admit any refugee who walks to the gates of my village. If indeed you are Uzumaki, I will need to take a blood sample and test it to make sure you are indeed who you say you are. After that, you will have to undergo a mind walk from one of our Yamanaka shinobi to make sure you have no ill will to the village. Then and only then can I allow you to stay in the village. Well then, let's get started. Why waste time? Came the grinning answer of Naruto Uzumaki. It hurt. Looking at the younger and sterner face of the third Hokage had made Naruto's heart thump in agitation. The old man had tried his best. He truly had. Without him, Tuchi, AM, and later Ruka-sensei, Naruto would have most likely turned out like Gaara during his younger years, a bloodthirsty monster who didn't know right from wrong. Naruto had steeled himself, ready to meet familiar faces who would not recognize him. Yet imagining it was nowhere near the reality of it. It took all of Naruto's strength to not break the cuffs, burst forward, and pull Hiruzen into a tight hug. It took all of his strength to not bawl in front of the third Hokage, who had been like his own grandfather when he was young. He still remembered the dark and gloomy day of the third's funeral. He remembered being strong for Konohamaru, despite wanting to cry his eyes out like the young grandson of the third Hokage. He had gone to sleep that day with wet eyes. So he plastered a happy-go-lucky face and tried to poke fun at his adoptive grandfather, like he had always done with the third Hokage. Even when the medic that was summoned to take his blood sample arrived, Naruto didn't stop poking fun at the third Hokage. So, do you have any hobbies besides reading smut, Lord Hokage? Naruto asked with a neutral tone that hid his smirk. Under the second folder of his third drawer are all the smut books in Konoha. He was so embarrassed when I found out the first time around. The medic who was pulling out Naruto's blood with an injection paused. Hiruzen blushed quickly before his eyes twitched as he glared at Naruto without heat. I don't read smut. Naruto hummed and shook his head as the medic finally finished taking his blood out. The medic bowed to the Hokage and left. Naruto grinned up to Hiruzen. That's not what I heard. I know a guy who met this crazy tall guy with spiky white hair wearing a kabuki dress. The kabuki guy said he was a smut rider and that the third Hokage was his #1 fan. Made all the news in the villages up north. Hiruzen's right eye was twitching so much that Naruto honestly feared that he was going to develop an eye infection. Naruto was saved from a comment from the highest military authority in the Land of Fire when a blonde Yamanaka body flickered into the room. Light green eyes trained on Naruto as Naruto forced himself to put on an impassive face. Inoichi Yamanaka's death in the future had been a blow to the allied shinobi forces. Granted, Naruto didn't know Inoichi as well as he would have liked, but still, Ino and her mother had later told him that Inoichi had always vouched for him, had warmed Naruto's heart and made it despair at the same time. Warm because behind the scenes, it seemed that he always had some allies, but despaired because Inoichi had died before personally telling Naruto that. Hiruzen turned to Inoichi and smiled. Ah. Inoichi. This is Mr. Naruto Uzumaki. He has come to Konoha asking for refuge. The normal procedure shall be applied. Inoichi bowed deeply to the Hoage before shuffling behind Naruto, who was still looking at the third Hoage. Naruto relaxed, knowing personally from experience that the best way to experience the Yamanaka clan's mind walking was to relax and calm themselves. Inoichi grabbed Naruto's head gently and asked, Mr. Uzumaki, before I start the mind walk, I must ask. Do you have a history of mental disorders or ailments? They can sometimes take physical form in the mindscape and make my job harder and your health deteriorate. Naruto shrugged and shook his head. No. You can start when you want, mister. Nodding, Inoichi activated the mind transfer technique and delved into Naruto's mindscape. Immediately, Inoichi found himself in an odd place. Mindscapes were always a fascinating subject for Inoichi. Everyone's mindscape is different. It can be a valley, a house, a city, anything. My mindscape is a big garden. This Uzumaki's mindscape seems to be a sewer. Well, that's odd. Mindscapes are supposed to represent our yin chakra. Collected in the mind, it takes the form of a person's mentality both consciously and subconsciously. For it to be a sewer is odd. Slowly in front of him, Naruto came into focus in one of the tunnels of the sewer-like mindscape. Inoichi walked slowly to Naruto in the mindscape. Mr. Uzumaki. In the mind, one cannot say anything but the truth. So your interrogation will take place here. Do you have any ill will to Konohagakure no Sato or the Land of Fire? The mindscape version of Naruto shook his head resolutely. No. Are you working for any enemy of the Land of Fire and Konoha? Inoichi continued impassively, still somewhat enchanted by the odd sewer mindscape of the Uzumaki. No. Do you plan to betray the Land of Fire or the village anytime in the future? No. This time, Naruto's answer came out to be somewhat like a growl. Inoichi noted it with a curious gaze. One cannot fake emotions in the mindscape either. The very thought of betraying the village makes him angry. That's a good response. No need to go any further. All the basic requirements have been met. Inoichi cancelled the mind transfer technique and exited back to his body. Opening his eyes, he bowed to the third Hoage. Lord Hoage. I completed the basic interrogation. Naruto Uzumaki does not have any ill intentions towards the village. Hiruzen took a deep drag from his pipe and nodded. Very well. Thank you, Inoichi. I will want a report on his psychological state of mind from your mind walk on my table by the end of the day. Of course, Lord Hoage. Inoichi nodded in assent before leaving with a body flicker. Hiruzen turned to Naruto and looked at him meaningfully. It is good that you passed that interrogation. Even if you do not pass the blood test, I can allow you to enter the village based on that alone. Naruto smiled with a small shrug present on his broad shoulders. I do not need to worry, Lord Hoage. I will pass the blood test as well. It's good that blood test machines are still not as developed as they became under Grandma Tsunade. If they're using Mum's blood as a baseline, then my blood will only show a very close relation, and not son. It would be awkward trying to explain how a 22-year-old woman had a 20-year-old son. Naruto thought with relief flooding his head. He did not like the prospect of trying to explain his time-traveling escapade to everyone. Silence enveloped the office as the third Hoage and Naruto simply tried to observe each other. Naruto's happy-go-lucky facade was breaking, maybe as a result of the mental interrogation he went through, and he was finding it hard to focus on Hiruzen without revealing his inner turmoil. His face was pinched and he took deep breaths. Hiruzen observed Naruto with growing curiosity, wondering about his future course of action with this newcomer to the village. The silence was broken when the medic from before body flickered into the Hokage's office. He bowed his head deeply and addressed the Hoage. Lord Hoage. Mr. Uzumaki's blood was tested with the blood of Ms. Uzumaki. It is clear that Mr. Uzumaki is a clan member of Ms. Uzumaki, as both of them show a very close relation with the same recessive traits that clan members share. Mr. Uzumaki here is definitely an Uzumaki. Hiruzen smoothened his robes unconsciously and dismissed the medic. The medic bowed before leaving. Hiruzen turned his attention to the smug Uzumaki who was radiating and humming a happy tune. Hiruzen clasped his hands together and leaned forward. Very well. Naruto Uzumaki. You are officially granted refuge in Konoha. You can pick up your official papers and cards of identification from the administrative building tomorrow. Naruto nodded happily. But in his head, his thoughts were churning. Now, how to proceed? Yes. Mum. Naruto tried and failed to hide the tremble on his chin. He had met his mother only once. He had received the good fortune of bonding with his father on the battlefield against Madara and later Kagaya. Though Naruto had failed in the end, he still got to spend some good bonding time with his dad. He didn't receive that luxury with his mother. Barring a 15-minute conversation in his head with his mother's chakra imprint, Naruto had never known his mother personally. I know Dad's favorite color, his favorite dish, his favorite hobbies, his favorite clothes and festivals. It was gloomy and depressing trying to hide from Kagaya, but we managed to pass the time by talking with each other. But Mum? I know nothing about her. I should have asked Dad. Lord Hoage. Naruto began with an unspoken question and a trembling voice. What did the medic mean by Ms. Uzumaki? Understanding flooded Hiruzen's face. The growing gaunt lines in his old and wizened face wrinkled a bit as he looked at Naruto with a mixture of understanding and pity. Mr. Uzumaki. You have family here in Konoha. Another Uzumaki, who came to live in Konoha before the fall of Uzushio survived. Her name is Kushina Uzumaki. As the medic said, you seem to be a very close relation to her. Can I meet her? Came the quiet voice of the Redeed in front of the third Hokage of Konoha. The seemingly irreverent and mischievous Uzumaki had paled and he had closed his eyes. Hiruzen smiled softly. Of course. He nodded slowly. She isn't the only family you have left in Konoha though. Naruto's eyes snapped towards Hiruzen with a questioning gaze. What does he mean by that? If you are determined as a very close relation by our blood test, then that means that you are either a first cousin or second cousin of Kushina. Hiruzen pointed out, taking another drag out of his pipe before setting it down on the table again. That means you are third or fourth cousin to Tsunade Senju, who is the granddaughter of Mito Uzumaki, and the remaining members of the Senju clan are your distant cousins as well. The Uzumaki and Senju are sibling clans after all. Though not many Senju remain, I am sure they will be happy to take you in. Young Kushina does live in the Senju clan compound as well. Naruto inclined his head, trying to disguise the cascade of thoughts in his head. Only Grandma Tsunade was the remaining Senju in the future. So the other Senjus all died out or married out of the clan within only a few years from now, huh? But before Naruto could question Hiruzen further, Hiruzen spoke up first. But before we get into the details about your family, I will have to ask. Do you wish to be a shinobi of Konoha? Yes. Came the simple and soft answer from Naruto. Then an examination must be held, Hiruzen muttered, stroking his beard. Very well. Until the examination is held, you shall be under probation. After the examination, a suitable rank will be given to you, and you shall enter our shinobi forces. Kami knows that we need all the forces we can muster. During your probation period, you shall be monitored by Naori Uchiha, Kushina Uzumaki, and Tsunade Senju. Naruto's eyes focused on Hiruzen with a speculative gaze as he heard the names. Hiruzen inclined his head and nodded slightly, confirming the young Uzumaki's unspoken question. I can understand the need to find family after so long. Naori is the only one he is properly familiar with in the village. And with Kushina and Tsunade, maybe he can bond over their familial ties. After Nawaki, Tsunade needs this as well. Hiruzen turned to the hidden Anbu in the corner of his room and ordered, bring Kushina Uzumaki here. Tell her it's my order. The Anbu disappeared. 2 quiet minutes later, 2 bodies flickered into the Hokage's office. Naruto's breath hitched. With her hair falling down to her ankles and her glowing violet eyes, she was as beautiful as he remembered. Her kind aura remained the same, and all Naruto wanted to do was curl up in her lap and cry like the neglected son that he was. He turned away, failing to hide the suspicious shine in his eyes from Hiruzen. His fists clenched under the cuffs. I promise. I promise. Mum, Dad, you won't have to die like last time. I promise. The redeeded Jinchuriki of Konoha materialized in the middle of the office with a huff as she looked straight at the third Hokage and pouted. What's the meaning of summoning me in the middle of my lunch, old man? Hiruzen chuckled, well used to Kushina's antics by now. Perhaps that was why he wasn't as bothered by Naruto's own antics, unlike his Anbu. They were eerily similar. Kushina. You may wish to sit down. Why, what's the matter? Kushina asked curiously as her eyes drifted towards Naruto, who was still looking resolutely at the floor, unwilling to turn back and look at his mother's face. Kushina's eyes narrowed slightly, observing Naruto's hair. That hair color. Hiruzen pointed at Naruto gently. Kushina. This man here is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Kushina stilled. It was like the very atmosphere had stilled around here and was now trying to suffocate her as a hole opened up in the ground, trying to swallow her whole at the same time. It had been so long. So long since she had heard the surname attached to anyone's name but her own. Her violet eyes snapped towards the seated Redeed, who still didn't seem inclined to turn and look over at her. After so long. Another Uzumaki. Hiruzen continued on as if he was blind to the turmoil that both the Uzumakis in front of him were facing. After we conducted a blood test, it was determined that Naruto is either a first or second cousin of yours. I know that Kazama had many younger siblings who lived throughout the land of whirlpools before the fall, so it's likely Naruto here is one of your first cousins who managed to survive the fall. Kushina flung herself into her memories. trying to remember her father and everything he had said about his family before Kushina was sent to live in Konoha. It hurt, knowing that her memories of her father were becoming more and more blurrier with each passing day, and she shoved down the anger that threatened to bubble in her gut in response to that. Dad? Yes, sweetie. Why can't I meet my uncles and aunties? Ah, sweetie, you will meet them in the future, I promise. During your next visit here from Konoha, you will definitely meet them. It's just that to guard our land, we Uzumaki must be vigilant. The land is large compared to our clan population, and we must remain scattered throughout the land to protect it. It is, after all, an Uzumaki's duty to protect the swirling whirlpools and everyone who lives in it. So I can finally meet my cousins then. You have met them before. But well, you were too young to remember them. But yes, you will. She never did. 3 months after that, 1 month before her normal visit back to Uzushio to meet her family, Uzushio had been besieged and sacked by Kiri. She moved forward hesitantly, putting a nervous hand on the shoulder of the new Uzumaki, and turned to look at his face properly. Immediately she was struck by the resemblance. That face. The curve in his eye, the posture and frame of his body. He looks just like Dad. His eyes look like Minato's, but everything else is like me and Dad. She withdrew her hand with a weak gasp as tears threatened to spill. She swallowed deeply and nodded. He looks just like my dad. My uncles were said to be near copies of my father, so it's very likely. I am your first cousin. The other Uzumaki, Naruto answered softly, his head finally looking up at her, making eye contact. Unable to control herself, and forgetting every lesson about decorum that needed to be shown in front of the Hoage, she flung herself at Naruto, catching his surprised frame in a tight hug. Naruto was rigid at first, but his rigid frame melted away as he slowly grasped and hugged her back. Burying their heads together in a tight embrace, Kushina murmured, "Welcome home." Far away, in the destroyed land of whirlpools, the torrents that churned deep within the ocean sang in joy. For two children of the land had been reunited at last. Chapter 3. Introduction Arc 3. Why do you continue to fight? Kagaya questioned slowly, her eyes trained on her descendant. Naruto took in deep gulps of air. He refused to fall to his knees. He would not give his ancestor and spiritual grandmother the satisfaction. Blood spilled from his body, every single gash deep enough to kill. Every single wound was capable of killing a normal person. But Naruto was not normal. Of course not. The last remnants of Kurama's chakra worked overtime healing him, keeping him tethered to life. Naruto closed his eyes before opening them again after taking a deep breath. Pushing his half-red half-blonde hair to the side, he picked himself up to his full height. The destroyed countryside beside them stood testament to the clash between Naruto and Kagaya. Because if I don't, who will, grandmother? Naruto asked back in a solemn voice. Kagaya's eyes softened, remembering the days when she swaddled Hagoromo and Hamura. Even sealed up in the moon she had celebrated the birth of her grandchildren. Though she grew to detest the perversion of chakra and its proliferation under the eyes of Hagoromo and Hamura, she had been saddened by the cycle of violence that her mortal descendants had fallen into. Of all of Ashura's reincarnations, perhaps you are the closest to him. I can see why my son gave you that seal. Not Sonoda Agai, not Akino Tadao, not Shizuka Ban, not Rina Oda, not Jinpaki Yamamoto, not Kei Urata, and not Hashirama Senju. You are the only reincarnation to be closest to the original. Naruto clutched his heart as it thrummed and hummed in agreement. The part of him that was Ashura agreed with Kagaya. Subconsciously, Naruto had always known that there was another presence in his chakra, a presence that wasn't even Kurama, the nine-tailed fox spirit, but another thing entirely. It was always there. Tugging at his chakra when he fought, helping him flow and structure his words when he spoke, and humming in his heart when he loved. But now that he knew who it was, the part of him that was Ashura was becoming more and more active. Deep within Ashura, Naruto felt the love and despair that felt towards Kagaya. Every single time he clashed with Kagaya, exchanging blows that destroyed rivers, oceans, and even continents, leaving the earth ravaged, Ashura let out sobs of despair and restlessness. He agrees with you. But he also cries, unable to address you directly, you know. He remembers staring up at the moon, asking for your advice, wondering if his father made a mistake, and hoping that you would have been a good grandmother. Kagaya's eyes show a suspicious wetness, looking down at him. Kagaya did not see Naruto's blonde hair which was slowly turning red. She did not see his azure blue eyes. She saw his obsidian eyes and his spiky brown hair. She did not see his round face, but instead saw his refined jawline. Letting one tear fall to the ground, she answered the silent question. I would have raised you to be the Prince of Chakra. I would have done the same with Indra. Yet you killed him. You killed Sasuke. Why? Naruto's soft voice grew steely and his hands clenched so tightly that it nearly drew blood. Do you not understand? Kagaya despaired, her white hair fluttering in the wind like small threads in an intricate weaving process. They still remember my betrayal. They will come to Earth. They will seek to finish what I stopped. You speak in riddles, grandmother. When Mama Shiki, Kinshiki and Ashiki return, this world will fall, Kagaya warned her spiritual grandson. Her grandson shrugged and looked his spiritual grandmother in the eye. His blue eyes pierced her very soul, making her feel inexplicably small despite towering over Naruto. I once made a promise to protect everyone. I shall defeat you. And if these rogue Otsutsuki come to Earth, then I shall defeat them as well. You're a fool. The ghost of a smile overcame Naruto's face as he remembered another person telling him the same statement once before. Then I shall remain a fool my entire life. Naruto gasped as he was ejected from his dreams. He pushed himself up and leaned against the wall behind him, trying to get rid of the unwelcome memories and feelings that threatened to overtake him. He paused, taking in the green wallpaper of the Senju clan compound's guest room. The musty smell of the wooden floor that had most probably been conjured by the first Hoage pervaded his nose and creaked underneath his shifting weight. Taking deep breaths, Naruto calmed himself down. The spiky red hair felt heavy on his head as Naruto continued to take in the surrounding smell. Feeling a growing hum inside his chest, he sighed as he relaxed against the wall and frame of the bed. You're suspiciously active today, Ashura. Naruto quipped, mentally sending a warm burst of chakra to his chest and his gut towards the empty seal where Kurama once resided. His chest hummed with an agreeable edge before humming back in questioning. Naruto sighed, understanding the question without really needing to communicate with his past incarnation. Slowly. I overshot. I wanted to go back to that mission to Kanabi Bridge, but landed a year before it happened. Still, it gives me an advantage. Ashura hummed with a proverbial shrug before settling down inside of him. Scratched his hair before standing up, seeing no point in sleeping further. He slipped into his shirt and pants and put the sandal on his leg. Exiting his room, he looked at the winding corridor before turning towards the interior garden. The cold breeze that swept through Konoha in the winter mornings passed through the Senju compound, filling Naruto with a strange familiarity. As he entered the garden, he turned heavenwards to see the clouds that heralded the coming of snow gather above. Smiling softly, he tried to imagine the famous Senju garden in front of coated with snow. With flora from all over the elemental nations, the garden was beautiful in ways that defied description. Some flora, Naruto was sure, came from the far-off western and eastern continents. A few of the flowers and shrubs he recognized from the fiasco with the stone of gel. Naruto let a nostalgic smile overcome his face. Man, I was young back then. It's a beautiful garden, isn't it? Kushina's voice broke Naruto out of his thoughts. Naruto turned his head towards his mother and forcibly prevented himself from flinching. It felt wrong to try to deceive her by masquerading as her cousin in the past. Menma Uzumaki, the son of Nakamura Uzumaki, who was himself the brother of Kazama Uzumaki, had perished in the fall of Uzushio. He hadn't survived. In a way, Naruto was defiling the memory of his cousin uncle. Praying to the Shinigami for forgiveness, Naruto addressed the question. It is. I wonder how it will look like coated in snow and icicles. It looks even better than the garden of Lord Ashina back in Uzushio, Kushina answered with a soft voice as she stepped forward to stand beside him. No longer wearing a flak jacket like the last night, she was wearing a normal household dress that was green in color. Her hair balanced itself on the single hair clip on her head. I hope you remember the garden. Another sense of guilt invaded Naruto. He had been to Uzushio. Just not in his childhood. How do I tell her that the infamous garden of Lord Ashina Uzumaki is nothing but dust and stone 22 years from now, without actually telling her? I remember a bit. Naruto nodded, hiding the pale flush that tried to overtake him with guilt. Kushina, I just wanted to thank you for letting me stay here. Suddenly, Naruto felt a slight sting on his head. Rubbing the spot where Kushina had bopped him lightly, he turned a questioning gaze to the female Uzumaki. Kushina glared at him, her violet eyes blazing in indignant fury. Never do that. What? Naruto shook his head, perplexed. Never thank me for doing what any family would do, Kushina growled at him with righteous fury as some of her hair started to part and defy gravity, vaguely resembling 9 different strands. It is the least I can do for my cousin. I don't remember Uncle Nakamura or even Aunt Asami well, but I know they would have done the same for me if the situation had been reversed. There is nothing greater in this world than kin. Remember? There is nothing greater in this world than kin. Naruto remembered. The other clans had flashy mottos. Burn through was the famous Uchiha motto, and see all was the Hyuga one. The Uzumaki had long ago chosen a rather lengthy phrase to be their motto. One that was straight to the point. Perhaps even greater than other clans barring pack clans like the Inuzuka and Haddock, the Uzumaki clan had defended their kin fiercely. The phrase was plastered all over Uzushio, readable even in the ruined state of the long-destroyed village. Ashina's passionate and fast voice made Naruto remember a time when he was still warring with Kurama. The words "thank you for letting me become a mother" were seared in his head. As panic mixed in with guilt warred in his gut, his chest hummed. Calming chakra spread through him courtesy of Ashura, who smiled at him softly from within. More than anyone else, Ashura understood Naruto best. After all, Ashura had been with Naruto throughout his life. Ashura had also lost his mother right after his birth. If Ashura had been given the chance, he would have also gone back to save her. Even if Ashura had to deceive his own mother to save her, Ashura would have done so. Ashura understood Naruto on a level that no one, perhaps barring Kurama, could. Thankful at the intervention of his past incarnation against a panic attack, Naruto turned to Kushina and felt his lips turn upwards. Nonetheless. I can never say it enough, Kushina. Thank you. Kushina's bright smile nearly blinded Naruto before she took his hand and pulled him towards the kitchen. Come on, it's time to eat breakfast and meet Tsunade. Naruto mentally steeled himself to meet someone he knew but wouldn't recognize him. The Senju dining hall was large, made to accommodate the Senju clan at its peak when it numbered nearly 1,000 members. The Senju insignia was graphed on the roof, gleaming proudly. The long table that was centered around the middle of the hall was crafted with the most gorgeous designs, depicting the great feats of the Senju clan. A few Senju wandered into the hall, looking at Naruto and Kushina in surprise. A few of the warier ones tracked his movements, but most of the others shrugged and smiled at him. Naruto returned the smile with a grin of his own, feeling his confidence return. He was among family after all. At the northern end of the long table stood the giant throne that was reserved for the clan head. Crafted with the best designs and with 2 intertwining dragons rising in the air and furnished with the best silk and clothes that Naruto recognized to be very expensive Land of Wind material, the extravagant throne made it clear it was meant only for the leaders of the Senju. Though faint, Naruto's nose twitched, recognizing the extremely slight smell of sake pervading from the clan head throne. Naruto's lips twitched as it threatened to break out into a smile. Granny Tsunade did not change in decades at all. Speak of the devil and so the devil shall appear. Just as Naruto and Kushina sat down near the clan head throne after having taken a plate from the breakfast buffet to the side of the hall, a woman wearing a plain white standard issue Konoha shirt and pants stumbled into the room, groaning with her hands grabbing her head. Naruto heard Kushina muttering words that would have made a sailor blush as a sweat drop formed on the back of his head. Tsunade stumbled onto the clan head throne and sat down with a thump. A wary clan member gathered a plate and handed the breakfast to Tsunade, who barely mumbled a thanks and began to eat. Feeling someone observing her, she raised her head, looking at Naruto with piercing hazel brown eyes. A blank look overcame her features as she tilted her head, making her blonde pigtails fall to the side. Who are you? Tsunade groaned out. Yeah, Naruto was feeling the sweat drop at the back of his head. Tsunade in her hungover stupor never failed to entertain, even when she was in her 30s, it seemed. Ah, I'm Naruto began placing his fork on the plate. But before he could complete his sentence he was interrupted by his mother-turned-cousin. Didn't the old man tell you last night? Kushina growled out, her irritation at Tsunade's stupor clear for all to see as her violet eyes flashed. Too drunk last night to remember, Tsunade mumbled at Kushina before turning to Naruto again, raising a blonde eyebrow, motioning him to continue. So tomato. Kushina bristled at the word, but Naruto grinned. This was banter that he was familiar with. I was a wandering Uzumaki who survived the fall of Uzushio. I'm also Kushina's first cousin. I was granted refuge yesterday afternoon by Lord Hoage. I think he made you one of the shinobi whose job it is to monitor me during my probationary period, Granny. The hall, which was filled with laughter, gossip and comments, quietened immediately. Naruto swore he could hear a pin drop in the silence that enveloped the entire hall. Everyone craned their head towards him, their eyes glinting in fear. Kushina's lower jaw was nearing the table in surprise and at the sheer audacity. Killer intent flooded the room as the blonde granddaughter of the first Hokage leaned forward towards Naruto and gritted out, "What was that, brat?" Everyone's body was absolutely still. Even the reckless and hyperactive Kushina remained still, her eyes wide and flickering between Naruto and Tsunade. The killing intent of one of the most powerful shinobi that Konoha had ever produced filled the air and threatened to suffocate them all. In contrast, Naruto grinned, the killing intent not even fazing him. He leaned forward to level his eyes with Tsunade and answered her. "What was that? What do you mean by that?" The better question should what are you wearing on your face, Granny? Only in your mid-30s and already applying a genjutsu illusion to make yourself look like you just entered your early 20s. Are you that insecure, Granny? I'm sure someone will like you for who you are, Granny. Pin drop silence. The Senju clan members had evidently started to pray to the heavens that their clan leader did not commit assault on the newcomer. The paperwork would be too long and the costs of the damages and the fine too high. As it was, the clan coffers were suffering via Tsunade's insane gambling addiction. Tsunade's nostrils flared, but before she could do anything else that would have definitely punted Naruto halfway to the land of lightning in one punch, a giggle was heard. The giggle turned into a chuckle before Kushina exploded into full-out laughter. Tsunade turned her irritated half-lidded eyes towards Kushina as she grunted in disapproval at Kushina's laughter. "Oh, Kami." Kushina snorted in laughter. "I wish Dan was here to hear that." "In your dreams, tomato," Tsunade growled out as she turned to Naruto, allowing her killing intent to dissipate. "So you're the brat that sensei wanted me to monitor, huh? HMPH. Not impressed. By the great slug and my grandfather, the sheer audacity of this brat." Tsunade growled mentally as Naruto started to shake and joined Kushina in quiet laughter, gesturing wildly with his hands in an admittedly humorous way that allowed the laughter to spread to the rest of the clansmen as well. Naruto leveled a mischievous wink at her. "Ah, who are you kidding, Granny? You're very impressed. I could make a career out of stand-up comedy and pranking the way that I am." "You overestimate yourself," Tsunade grumbled out as she took a sip of water from the glass in front of her. "And I would watch your tone with me. I am now your clan head." Naruto blew a raspberry at him, making the quiet laughter of the clansmen escalate. From the corner of her eye, Tsunade saw the old and wise Intaka Senju, her great aunt giggling like a schoolyard girl. "Nah, Granny. Kushina here is my clan head. Uncle Kazama was next in line after Grandpa Rashi. You can't boss me around." "Hell yeah. I can." Kushina raised her hand and Naruto high-fived it. The two Uzumakas grew identical mischievous smirks that sent shudders down every one of the Senju's back. Despite her anger, Tsunade felt a calming sensation as she observed the two Uzumakas giggle and smirk together. "So, a new Uzumaki, eh? That will be good for Kushina." She had all but given up on finding her scattered clan members. As the group continued to eat their breakfast, Tsunade spent the time observing the new Uzumaki. Privately, Tsunade was startled at the sheer resemblance between Kushina and Naruto. Besides Naruto's blue eyes and spiky hair formation that reminded Tsunade of Jireya's apprentice, he looked like a picture-perfect brother of Kushina. Their personalities were almost the exact same, finding odd things hilarious, and their twinkling eyes seemed to hold the same propensity for practical jokes. Tsunade's eyes raked over Naruto, trying to remember Kazama Uzumaki, whom she had met a few times before the fall of Uzushio. Her third cousin twice removed and Kushina's father also had the same posture as that of Naruto, and their body frame was also remarkably similar. Grunting and sighing mentally, Tsunade hoped that grouping the two Uzumakas together would not lead to a tyranny of practical jokes in the village. As breakfast ended and everyone slowly filed out, a purplish body flicker appeared on the gates of the Senju clan compound. Naori Uchiha had arrived. Tsunade rubbed her forehead with a light groan before standing up and making her way to the purple-haired Uchiha. "Who are you?" "Naori Uchiha, Lady Tsunade," Naori answered quickly, her obsidian eyes catching Naruto who was gossiping with Kushina. "I am one of the three assigned to look after Naruto Uzumaki before his examination." "Ah, so you're the Uchiha brat saddled with that infuriating tomato brat," Tsunade mumbled tiredly, still not entirely out of her hangover. "Well then come in." Naori thanked Tsunade and entered the Senju clan compound. Naruto perked up, noticing her and he walked towards her, Kushina following his steps. "Ms. Naori. Hope you rested well enough from your mission." "Yes, I'm fine thank you." Naori nodded touching the eye patch which covered her left eye gingerly. It itched so badly, but the doctors had warned her last evening that the implanted eye would itch and shouldn't be touched. Naori didn't know what would go medically wrong if she just scratched the itch a bit, but she had to follow the doctor's orders if she wanted to regain eyesight in her left eye. "How are you, Mr. Uzumaki? Did you get a good night's sleep in the Senju clan compound?" Naruto nodded happily. He gestured towards Kushina and dragged her forward who smiled uncertainly at Naori. Hey. You should meet Kushina. She's my first cousin." "First cousin?" Naori raised an eyebrow as she returned Kushina's smile with a polite smile of her own. "Well, I can see the resemblance." Naori inclined her head to show her respect to the nominal clan head of the Uzumaki clan and then turned to Naruto, who was blabbering on about how he had saved Naori to Kushina. Feeling a tick mark form on her forehead, Naori took in deep breaths and then addressed Naruto. "Mr. Uzumaki. Lord Hoage entrusted me to tell you that your examination will take place today evening." "Who's the schmuck that tomato brat is going to fight?" Tsunade asked, leaning against the gate with a bottle of sake in her hand. "Where did that bottle come from?" thought Kushina, Naruto, and Naori as all three of them blinked owlishly. Tsunade had been standing next to them just a few seconds prior. Blinking a few times, Naori coughed and started to wring her hands, glancing at Kushina before answering the question. "Ah. Lord Hoage has assigned the examination fight to Minato Namikaze." "Minato?" Kushina cried out before a smirk enveloped her face. She tugged at Naruto's right shoulder and grinned at him. "My boyfriend's going to smack you into the dirt you know." "This Minato guy is your boyfriend?" Naruto mock growled. The effect was ruined by the constant smile on Naruto's face. "Do you seriously not know who Minato Namikaze is?" Naori asked surprised. Her wide eye turned towards Naruto with her head tilting cutely to the side, letting her violet hair fall nearly to the ground. Naruto simply returned an empty look at her that made her growl in indignation. How can you not know who Minato Namikaze is? He's the Yellow Flash. The one who is terrorizing Iwa and Suna on the western front of the war. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and chuckled lightly with an embarrassed tone. Ah, I thought the Yellow Flash was called so because Naori, Kushina and Tsunade all blushed as they caught the meaning of Naruto's tone. Tsunade guffawed loudly trying to hide her undignified snort as she took another sip from her bottle. Kushina remained blushing whilst Naori's face heated up, partially from anger and partially from embarrassment at the double entendre. The Uzumaki who had accompanied Naori back from the land of grass never failed to get a rise out of her. Naori was unable to form the words with which she wanted to berate Naruto because of the sheer audacity the deed showed towards one of the greatest prodigies that the village had ever made. Calming, she turned her nose upwards at Naruto. I hope he crushes you to the ground like the troublesome gnat you are. Don't worry, brat. Tsunade let out after she stopped chuckling. Even if you lose, and you will against Minato, you just need to give a good show so that sensei knows what rank to label you as. Yeah. Kushina nodded in agreement, fidgeting as she tucked her dress in. Losing a fight against Minato will be nothing to be ashamed of. What makes you three think I will lose? Naruto grumbled as a cloud of depression formed over him as he rocked back and forth with a comical downcast gaze. Tsunade's eyes twitched as she remembered someone else who did the same thing. The brat acts just like grandfather. Kushina put her hands on her waist and chuckled. Well, he's fast. He's strong. And he's extremely flexy. La 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 la. Didn't need to hear that. Naruto shouted as he closed his ears with his hand sending a dirty look at Kushina. I don't need to hear what you get up to with your boyfriend. Naori couldn't but help stare at the Uzumaki duo. Her hands fell to the wayside looking at them limp. This is the red-hot habanero. The red-headed demon who terrorizes Kumo Shinobi on the northern front. Coughing into her first, Naori tried to regain the attention of the people in front of her. Nonetheless. Mr. Uzumaki. We must discuss your fighting abilities if you wish to gain an appropriate rank. Naruto waved her off dismissively as he cracked the knuckles of his hand, partly out of anticipation. Don't worry, Ms. Naori. I got this fight in the bag. 3 pairs of eyes focused on Naruto speculatively. Tsunade narrowed her eyes a fraction as she expanded her chakra and tried to grasp at Naruto's. Nothing but a hollow empty feeling permeated back at her. Raising a blonde eyebrow, Tsunade tried to grasp at Naruto's chakra again. She received the same result. Whilst Kushina chuckled, thinking it was bravado, and Naori narrowed her eye in irritation, believing it to be bravado as well, Tsunade hummed thoughtfully. He's suppressing his chakra really well. Even civilians have a small chakra presence. He shows nothing. Like he's dead or something. And he's doing it subconsciously. Maybe he's not all talk. Mr. Uzumaki. Please be serious. Naori pleaded with Naruto, gesturing wildly with her arms, pointing towards the vague direction of the training grounds. She had been the one to bring Naruto to the village, and his showing would reflect back at her. If she got a black mark on her portfolio, she would be stuck with meaningless C and D rank missions for the foreseeable future. And that wasn't something she was enthused about. Can you at least promise me that you will show a good fight? I don't want a black mark on my record. Naruto's deep blue eyes grew soft as he regarded Naori. His lips grew upward in a confident manner as his jawline straightened out and his chest puffed out. With his right thumb, Naruto pointed at himself and his eyes flashed. For a second Naori thought she saw something in those deep azure eyes of Naruto, but it was gone as fast as it came. Forgive me, Ms. Naori. I forgot about the consequences on your own career. But don't worry. I'll take care of it. You can count on me. Thank you, Naori muttered as she looked at Naruto's confident grin, feeling thankful that at least he was taking the matter a little seriously. I know that you subdued the Kusa platoon rather easily, but still they were taken by surprise. I'm astonished that you're taking a fight, especially against someone like Minato Namikaze so lightly. In that small clearing in front of the Senju compound gates, the wind fluttered gently. Fallen leaves blew into the air and passed by. As Naruto's grin grew to lengths that Naori thought was impossible, Naruto scoffed indignantly before answering her question. See, it's all about a mentality. Who's stronger, who's weaker. Basic divisions like those don't matter to me. That's cause at the end of the fight, there's only me. In the end, throughout the heavens and earth, I alone am the honored one. Isn't that a little conceited thing to say? Kushina murmured, a questioning glint in her violet eyes. Naori narrowed her eyes at Naruto again, feeling the familiar irritation bubbling up. However, Tsunade just stood there, her face turning brighter and her lips twitching upwards as she understood the meaning of the words spoken by Naruto. Didn't peg you one for religion, brat. Tsunade quipped without heed in her words. Her eyes meaningfully stared at Naruto, who simply shrugged, apparently having understood that Tsunade understood his words. didn't think you were one for Buddhism. Ah, the words of the honored one are always relevant. Naruto retorted before he placed his hands on his waist. Don't worry Kushina. Don't worry Ms. Naori. I am sure Granny here already figured out what I meant. Kushina and Naori turned their heads to Tsunade. Tsunade shrugged. It's almost time for his examination anyway. I'm sure you'll see it in an hour or two. Deep within the seal created by Mito Uzumaki, where the nine-tailed fox spirit resided, a lone red eye opened as it observed the strange man his container was speaking to. Eyes filled with curiosity, Kurama vowed to keep an eye on the brat who possessed the chakra of himself, his siblings, and Ashura. There's something about him. Chapter 4. Introduction Archive E. The first thing that Minato Namikaze noticed was the fact that his opponent shared the same shade of blue-colored eyes. The second thing that he noticed was the fact that his opponent bore a very striking resemblance to his girlfriend. The third and perhaps the most obvious thing that he noticed was the fact that Naruto Uzumaki was grinning like a loon who had his wildest dreams come true. Minato observed the newfound first cousin of his girlfriend with a hidden groan as the third Hokage arrived on the scene with a poof of smoke. Minato wanted to believe in Kami and believed that his girlfriend had finally found family after so many years pining away at mission records and newspapers and the radio, trying to find some mention of the scattered Uzumaki clan. But Minato did not believe in coincidences. Minato did not believe in miracles. Until his soon-to-be cousin-in-law proved otherwise, Minato vowed to keep this Naruto Uzumaki at arm's length. I can't stop Kushina from entangling herself with him, but I can at least mitigate it and protect her. Unconsciously, Minato had started to leak a mild amount of killing intent. The third Hokage, who had been observing the small crowd that had gathered up with some amount of amusement, stilled for a second before craning his neck towards Minato in question. Minato saw Kushina raise an eyebrow in warning as well, whilst his genin team, who was sitting on the front row of the stadium, shuddered slightly. Minato never used his killing intent loosely, as calm and composed as he was normally. His opponent on the other side of the stadium simply shrugged at the amount of killing intent he was leaking before he strode up to Minato in a purposeful strut as he grinned and struck out his hand in invitation for a shake. Not the amount of killing intent I would expect from the famous yellow flash of Konoha. Is this how you dealt with the 4th Explosion Battalion of Iowa? Bah, not my business anyway. Name's Naruto Uzumaki. I'm your opponent today. Ready to fight. Minato ignored the barb and shook the offered hand with a polite smile, reining his killing intent and suspicions away from his face. It was certainly a surprise to hear that a family member of Kushina had been found after so long. So I guess you can understand why I'm so eager to see how you hold up. Naruto's eyes, they're the same shade as mine, Minato noticed again. Flickered towards the stands, where a small crowd was forming. Only Jonin and Up were allowed in private examinations, with the sole exceptions being Minato's own genin team. The Hokage sat in the center, his unreadable eyes looking down upon the two fighters with a grim expression. Kushina was cheering in the stands. If she was cheering for her cousin or boyfriend seemed to be a question that no one beside her had the guts to ask her. Though Minato couldn't see them, he sensed Lady Tsunade and his sensei, Jiraiya, in the stands as well. Orochimaru seemed conspicuously absent. His sensei's teammate didn't like coming out into the open in the same space as Tsunade after Nawaki's unfortunate death. Minato recognized many others' faces as well. We seem to have gathered a crowd, eh? Naruto broke Minato out of his thoughts. Ah, forgive me. It seems that you've gathered a crowd. Minato smiled serenely, having long ago mastered the art of not having an opinion on whatever barbs or insults that opponents like to throw at him. He nodded graciously. Yes, indeed it seems so. The Jonin seem to be wondering why I'm the one here to evaluate an unaffiliated shinobi like yourself. Any normal rank and file would have normally sufficed. That's right, the great Lord Naruto Uzumaki requires the best Jonin Konoha has to offer to test him, believe it. Naruto chuckled, giving him a satirical thumbs up with his right hand before turning around, ignoring Minato completely and waving at the crowd, throwing kisses and waves at the mostly intrigued crowd. Minato felt a sweat drop forming on the back of his head. He may be a spy or someone sent to hurt Kushina, but by Kami, he manages the idiot act so well. Yes. Naruto, show my sissy boyfriend how a true Uzumaki fights. Minato, show my schmuck of a cousin how we in Konoha do it. Kushina shouted from the stands holding up a signboard that read I hope everyone has fun, twitching at the nonsensical board sign. A cough interrupted everyone's fun. Shinku Yuhi stood in the middle of the stadium ground. His striking red eyes, which his daughter Kurenai had inherited, pierced into the stand, silencing them immediately as well. The village's best moderator and trainer coughed once more and the once rambunctious stadium stood still, as quiet as a jellyfish in the deep ocean. Shinku turned to Minato and Naruto and spoke up. Mr. Uzumaki. Jonin Namikaze, this is an examination fight to determine Mr. Uzumaki's rank within the shinobi forces of Konohagakure. Mr. Uzumaki, I am going to ask you to show all of your fighting aptitude in this fight. Jonin Namikaze the same will go for you. Everything in this fight, barring fatal wounds or wounds that will take too long to heal goes. The fight will end when one fighter is unconscious, unable to continue, one fighter surrenders, or I stop the fighting. Is that clear? Both Naruto and Minato jumped to the opposite ends of the stadium, getting ready for the fight to come. Minato nodded curtly. Naruto responded enthusiastically. That's clear, old man, believe it. Hey, by the way, old man, are you related to the Uchiha? Your eyes could pass for a Sharingan. Eyes twitching and ignoring Naruto's question, Shiku raised his hand before bringing it down in a wide arc. Then begin. So, how many minutes is the new Uzumaki lasting? Jiraiya asked, observing the two fighters in the stadium down below. The tall arcs of the stadium rose into the sky intimidatingly, a warning to any invader, whilst the ornately chiseled and carved symbol of Konoha gleamed in the afternoon sun. Jiraiya's spiky white hair fell to his hip, swaying in the evening flutter. I wouldn't discount the redeed so easily, Tsunade muttered back to her teammate, leaning against one of the pillars, taking a sip from the sake bottle in her hands. The brat may be a loudmouth, but I think he can back up his bark with a real fight. Maybe. Jiraiya shrugged nonchalantly. But before my student, he isn't doing anything. Believe me. Ah, Lord Jiraiya, no need to psych out poor Kushina's new cousin so early in the fight. Came a smooth and delicate voice beside Tsunade, who was leaning against the side of the slug Sannin. Dan's pale blue hair fluttered alongside Jiraiya and Tsunade's in the evening breeze as his dark green eyes concentrated on the newfound Uzumaki. I am sure Kushina wouldn't be so upbeat if she didn't know that a good fight was coming. The firecracker could just want a beatdown. Jiraiya snorted, humorously waving his hands. You never know with a sadist like her. Dan had a retort, but the words never left his mouth. As Minato released his chakra down in the fighting field, his mouth dried up. The yellow flash was a cage-level shinobi, and everyone in the village knew it. But to be faced with the sheer chakra discharge of the man was something else entirely. It was an experience that no one wanted to be on the opposite side of. Dust particles started to defy gravity, moving upwards in anticipation of the man's chakra. No matter how hard Dan tried, he was simply not on the level of Minato. He wasn't even as strong as his lover, Tsunade. Her teammates, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, could crush him like a gnat in a real fight as well. The leap from Jonin to cage level was large. It was as large as the biggest ocean on the planet. Just as he refocused himself, Dan had to force himself to stay upright as the Uzumaki facing Minato let loose his own chakra, coating the entire stadium with it. Besides Dan, Tsunade and Jiraiya stiffened as well. Up where Hiruzen Sarutobi was staying, the god of shinobi mirrored the actions of his students. The sheer volume of chakra that Naruto Uzumaki was releasing in response to Minato dwarfed everyone in the vicinity but Kushina. Kushina, being the container of the nine tails, was expected to have abnormally large chakra reserves. And whilst the Uzumaki clan was known to be chakra powerhouses alongside their vitality and their secret sealing techniques, the sheer density of the chakra Naruto was emitting forced many jonin in the stands to fall. Dan's nerves felt as if they were on fire, burning and churning in a raging inferno that didn't want to be released, and thus dissipated. The very ground beneath Naruto and Minato cracked apart slightly as both fighters got ready to fight. Dan barely stood up. Ignoring his shaking knees, he turned his eyes back to the impending fight. The sheer chakra. By Kami, what monster is in front of me right now? Minato made the first move. As a ninja who focused his abilities and strength on speed, it was natural for him to make the first move. Especially because Naruto was matching the chakra Minato was exerting into the atmosphere and more. Narrowing his eyes slightly, Minato's body flickered forward, arriving in front of Naruto and cocking his right hand back to deliver a solid punch. Calmly Naruto tilted his head, dodging the punch to his head. His lips turned upwards, still mischievous. But his eyes. Those eyes. They're sharper. Flickering everywhere. He's seen moves that I haven't even made yet. Twisting midair to prevent Naruto from taking advantage of his right hand's overextension, Minato aimed a powerful kick at Naruto's back. Taking deep breaths, Minato allowed himself to channel the surrounding nature's chakra into his kick. Instead of dodging again, Naruto blocked the attack with his left hand, allowing the kick to hit his block with a resounding bang. As the nature chakra that Minato collected his kick dispersed, Naruto stood rigid, seemingly not affected by the extra energy and power generated by the dispersal of the nature chakra at the point of impact. Minato immediately twisted again and jumped backward, maintaining a cool gaze at Naruto, whilst his head churned with thoughts. How did the nature chakra not affect him? Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the high-speed display in front of him. Nature chakra did not even faze him. Minato, time to amp things up. Stop trying to gauge the Uzumaki. Ignoring the gnawing question in his head, Minato knelt low, maintaining a flexible fighting position whilst he observed Naruto. Naruto let loose a heavy breath of air and brought his left hand down, rubbing the point of impact with his right hand lightly before both of his hands fell to his sides. Naruto grinned at Minato. Well, Kushina did tell me to fight like an Uzumaki should, who am I to deny my cousin's request? Then Naruto slammed both of his hands onto the ground. Uzumaki sealing jutsu. Adamantine sealing chains. A slight rumbling of the ground was the only warning Minato received as golden chains erupted from the ground and attacked the yellow flash of Konoha. The yellow flash leaped backward, dodging the extending chains and weaving through them with practiced ease as he jumped from one chain onto the other, but too quickly for the chains to react and swerve to attack him. His chains are stronger and bulkier than Kushina's. But Naruto's chains are slower than hers. Naruto's chains are sacrificing speed for power. I can't let his chains get a clean hit. As three chains converged at Minato's position, the blonde stood up calmly and began to flash through hand seals. Wind release. Vacuum serial waves. With his head flashing at different angles, Minato released several blades of wind that blew away the chains, ravaging and dulling them as two of them fell down to the ground in a heap whilst the third recovered and attacked Minato again. Minato deflected the weakened third chain with his kunai easily. But just as the golden chain was thrown back, Minato trained his eyes on his opponent. The dust that the two of them had made by their brief exchange had blown into their hair and both Minato and Naruto were sporting dust spots on their heads. Naruto flicked some dust away before smirking at Minato. Wind release. I would have thought that someone like the yellow flash would have something like lightning release as their first element. Minato cocked his head to the side. I can see the logic in your deduction. But unfortunately no. I prefer wind release to any other element. I can appreciate an honest answer. Naruto chuckled, running his left hand through his lofty and spiky red hair as he knelt down on his two legs. But you seem to be a little cocky at having survived the first wave. The thing about us Uzumakis is that the chains will never end. Minato flickered away as 20 or so chains erupted from the ground in front of him again. Reappearing on the wall of the stadium on the southern side, Minato observed the chains again. They immediately swerved towards him, attacking the walls in their pursuit of Minato Namikaze. These chains seemed to be faster than the old ones. Can he mold the chains as per his wish and as the situation demands it? Kushina never showed the same flexibility with her chains. Is it the nine tails affecting her bloodline? Nevertheless, the Uzumaki bloodline is a pain to fight, whether it is against Kushina or Naruto. Picking and punching away the various rocks that had been thrown into the air by the barrage and eruption of chains, Minato focused on dodging the onslaught of chains. Fighting in Uzumaki, never thought I would see the day that I would. Spars with Kushina don't count. Minato and Naruto's eyes met in the arena. Both of them grinned at each other. As Minato weaved his hands through another set of hand seals, a sort of new calm overcame him. I can finally go out fully. Let us see how I fare against an Uzumaki of yore. Minato slammed his hands onto the ground and intoned Fuinjutsu. 8 trigrams grid palm. There is only one way to fight in Uzumaki. Fight fire with fire. Fuinjutsu against Fuinjutsu. A network of grids expanded on the arena floor, rapidly expanding in all directions. The grid began to redden in color as it exploded every little rock or pebble that came into contact, making the arena floor unstable. Naruto raised his hands into the air and slammed it back onto the ground with a speculative gaze. Fuinjutsu. Contract seal. Release. The rapidly expanding grid that blew everything in its way apart rapidly came to a stop as Naruto released its contract with Minato. Minato leaped forward, taking advantage of the opening in front of him. He's adept at Fuinjutsu, using a contract seal formation without hand seals or ink. But he's opened himself up to me with that action. With that thought in mind, Minato punched Naruto in the gut, making contact. Naruto grunted, falling back. It's over. Kushina pouted as she lowered her signboard. Whenever Minato made full contact with a foe with the full face of his palm and fist, only one thing would follow. The Thunder God would fly. Still, the way Naruto used his chains is amazing. I can't change my chain's width and speed like that. After the fight, I must get him to teach me that. Believe it. Not again. I hate that tick. I must agree. Naoriya nodded, looking at the display in front of her, pushing her purple hair back. Mr. Uzumaki is better than I gave him credit for. But still, for him to meet Mr. Namikaze equally, even only for a moment, shows his potential in combat. I should recommend Mr. Uzumaki for Takubetsu Jonin to Lord Hoage. Minato took a deep breath and stood rigidly, his arms still outstretched, observing his fallen foe warily. The midday sun cast sharp shadows, which accentuated the severity of the situation to Naruto. Before his opponent could recover, Minato decided to go on the offensive. Feeling for the flying rage and marker mentally that he had placed on Naruto's gut when he punched him, he teleported. Instantaneously appearing behind the reed, Minato delivered another heavy blow to Naruto's back, kicking him to the side. The impact echoed throughout the stadium, sending small shockwaves through the ground. As Naruto's body careened towards the wall of the ground, dust and soot flew everywhere. A grunt of pain escaped Naruto as the chains that were still trying to attack Minato fell to the ground limp. Flaring his chakra, Minato kept up the momentum he had built up. He teleported again before Naruto could regain his bearings and then attacked, this time slamming his signature jutsu the Rasengan into Naruto's gut. Naruto was sent flying as he ended up on the wall with a sickening crunch. As the dust cleared, it revealed Naruto crumpled to the ground, a trail of blood escaping from his mouth. Minato never broke his attention from his opponent. Thank Kami I powered the Rasengan down. I don't want to accidentally kill him. Lord Hoage would have my head if I did. Hirizen's eyes narrowed. As the other Jonin and observers sighed and nodded their heads in resignation at the now one-sided fight, Hirizen noticed something different. As the dust and the soot of the ground cleared up, the third Hokage stood rigid, remembering the last time he had felt such monstrous hidden chakra seeping onto the ground. With a grunt of imaginary pain, Hirizen took his pipe and silently saluted the air in the memory of Ashina Uzumaki. Lord Ashina. It seems that your technique continues to live on in your cousin. This fight is far from over. He leaned down to his son, Asuma, who was observing the fight with an eager grin. It was perhaps wrong of him to make an exception for his own son, but in this case, Hirizen had been loath to hamper his son's ability to see a real high-stakes battle. With the war going on, it would do his youngest son some good. Watch Asuma. Never count your opponent out unless they are truly out. Asuma turned his eyes towards his father and rolled his eyes. His face was caught in a tight expression as he clicked his tongue in annoyance. What do you mean, Pops? It's obvious that Minato-sensei has won already. The third fire shadow chuckled as he took in a deep drag from his infamous pipe. Watch and see, my son. Watch and see. Down in the arena, even Minato felt the sudden buildup of chakra. Bursting in seams from the ground, it was making the already unbalanced ground even harder to stand on. In the distance, Naruto fell forward and face planted to the ground, making Minato a tad more confused. Eyes flicking, Minato searched for the source of the buildup of chakra. He observed the slightly wavering pond on the northern end of the arena, seeing its ripples grow. Turning his eyes towards the fluttering leaves on the trees next to him, Minato started to build up his own chakra. It seemed that Naruto wasn't as down as he had hoped. A cough interrupted Minato's thoughts as Naruto weakly stood up on one hand, spitting a glob of blood onto the ground. Focusing his weight on his strong right hand, Naruto stood up from the ground, wavering slightly. His normal fishnet shirt was slightly torn, a small blood trail could still be seen on the corner of Naruto's mouth. Naruto wiped the trail with his hand as he chuckled slowly. I admit. I didn't see the bursts of normal chakra mixed in with natural chakra in your punches and kicks coming. It knocked the sails right out of me. Minato didn't respond, still trying to find out what Naruto was planning with the sudden buildup of chakra. Is he trying to use some kind of earth release technique? Well, I suppose in that case. Minato quickly took out two of his special kunai, coating its chakra metal with lightning chakra as he settled down into a stance, ready to oppose anything Naruto sent at him. But you see, Naruto continued as if he didn't see Minato settle into a stance again. He stood up, dusting his clothes away. I wasn't simply getting punched through the arena for nothing. Minato felt a jolt of anxiety. Visually remembering where he had sent Naruto with his punches, Minato tried to understand what Naruto was telling him. He had first knocked Naruto from the eastern part to the western part before careening him into the northern part and with his last kick, sent Naruto flying to the wall in the southern part of the arena. A perfect square. Geometry played an important role in Fuinjutsu and seals, Minato knew, and he narrowed his eyes. Before he could jump and see if he could negate any sort of incoming attack, Naruto let out a grin of triumph. You see. It's complete. Naruto announced, spreading his arms far and wide before clasping his hands again in an amist pose. Uzumaki's secret Fuinjutsu. Dead demon prison seal. That's impossible. Kushina shouted as she heard the name of the technique that her cousin announced. Her cheery disposition from the previous parts of the match had disappeared completely. Her violet eyes were bulging slightly and her hands clenched the rails tightly. Lord Ashinas. What? Naori asked, surprised and taking a step back. What's wrong, Ms. Uzumaki? That technically Lord Ashina Kushina stuttered, unable to answer her properly. Her red hair flew in the wind as Kushina herself stilled. Calming herself after taking a long breath, Kushina let go of the rails. Tucking her long red hair to her back properly, she smiled faintly. One of the most secret and greatest of the Uzumaki techniques. The last known person to know the technique was Lord Ashina Uzumaki. It was believed that the technique died with him. It seems not. Kushina disregarded Naori's reaction, a raised eyebrow that spoke volumes of the curiosity that Naori was feeling as she focused on Naruto instead. Well, at least there seems to be more to my new cousin than I thought at first. Chakra erupted from the ground as calligraphy expanded throughout the arena, originating from the trigrams grid that Minato had used earlier in the fight. The seals expanded throughout the arena before they stopped at the edge of the fighting field. The exploding chakra coalesced around the seals before the visible chakra dispersed back into the seal. Minato shuffled back, extremely alert of everything going around him as he dodged chunks of rock and stone that had been flung at him due to the eruption of chakra around him. The seals then glowed bright gold before they extended into the skies and formed a dome over the arena, expanding rapidly in the sky. The golden dome grew bright one last time, blinding anyone who dared to look at it directly temporarily before dimming to a manageable glow. Naruto unclasped his hands and flexed his muscles. Minato, his attention unwavering, watched as Naruto touched the seal of the flying Raijin jutsu on his gut. Naruto smirked and clapped. Flying Thunder God. Naruto began softly, ignoring the glowing dome that he had conjured up in the fight. It is a pretentious name, don't you think? It is admittedly a unique derivation of the summoning jutsu that when used in conjunction with weapons can have disastrous effects on any opponent. This seal formula that you pasted on me will stay on me even after your death. It makes you a god over the fate of anyone you have marked. In that sense, the technique is aptly named. In front of Minato's eyes and the eyes of all the spectators, Naruto calmly touched the flying Raijin seal on his gut. Minato's azure eyes widened in shock as the flying Raijin sealing formula that he had applied to Naruto's gut simply disappeared. Minato's mouth slacked in shock for a split second as he felt the seal simply evaporate. Its chakra broke and dispersed into the wind, making him unable to teleport into Naruto's vicinity anymore. Naruto grinned and pointed his right index finger at Minato. But you see, Minato, in this dome that is 2,000 square meters large, you are no longer God. I am. They say that the Uzumaki clan conquered even the Shinigami. They say that the Uzumaki can summon even the Shinigami. But how did they bind the god of death? People asked. They imprisoned it in a prison seal that defied even the gods. Ever since the fall of Uzushio, many had forgotten the myths that had been attributed to the Uzumaki. Every clan that had made a name for itself had some kind of myths and legends attributed to them during the era of warring states. After the formation of the hidden villages, most of these myths were forgotten, but as the Uzumaki made a village for themselves, their myths continued to persist, resisting the change of times. The land of whirlpools had no other shinobi clan, and their daimyo was happy to have only a single shinobi faction to deal with. They were populous enough to sustain a small village themselves and only accepted civilian shinobi from the whirlpool population. No other clan, barring the Senju, had managed to ever wear the spiral that the Uzumakas favored so much. Many had forgotten. But Obito Uchiha hadn't. The small diminutive dark-haired Uchiha watched the dome forming with wide eyes and his mouth hanging open. His grandmother had told him the myths when he was a young impressionable kid before going to the academy. Before the Third Great Shinobi War had made everyone in his generation grow up too quickly. Like the Senju, the Uzumaki had been bitter enemies of the Uchiha, standing shoulder to shoulder with their cousin clan during the era of warring states. Just as how the Uchiha had come to hate the Senju trident, the Uzumaki spiral was equally hated. His grandmother, who was in some ways still stuck in the era of warring states, had whispered hushed warnings in his young ears. Be careful of the Riti devils. They blaspheme every day and bring even the gods down with them. Obito had dismissed her words as her senility coming out. He hadn't let those tales color his opinion of Kushina, his sensei Minato's girlfriend. But as the dome continued to solidify and the kanji symbol appeared at the top symbolizing the Shinigami, Obito couldn't help but wonder if his grandmother's old tales held some truth to them. Minato barely had enough time to react when Naruto disappeared and appeared right next to him and kicked Minato squarely in the back, sending him face first into the ground. Minato spat the mud in his mouth away and turned to give fight to Naruto again, but Naruto disappeared once again and appeared behind Minato, punching him in the gut and hitting him in the face, sending Minato flying again. Minato twisted midair and threw his kunai at Naruto. But the moment the kunai was launched into the air, Minato felt a sinking feeling in his gut. The flying Raijin seal on his kunai twisted until it evaporated and disappeared just like the previous seal on Naruto's gut. Minato pushed his hand down and pulled his body weight back to land safely as he gritted his teeth in consternation. How? How is he negating the flying Raijin seal without even touching them? Is this seal consciously acting against me? This is true teleportation. Naruto praised as he raised his head to the evening sky, watching the kanji symbolizing the Shinigami with divine devotion. See, the flying thunder god summons you towards your seal. For just a brief moment, as fast as you can blink, you are in the summoning realm before reappearing at the location or vicinity of your seal. It is not true teleportation. As long as the seals in this dome hold, between you and me, I am the only one here who can actually teleport. Why? Because they bend to my will. Here, what I say goes. Minato narrowed his eyes as he heard the explanation. If he truly were omnipotent within this barrier, then he could just will me to sit down and surrender. No, it makes him much stronger, I must agree. But it doesn't make him godlike, he declared. When he conjured this dome, he probably negated my flying rage and seals as one of the conditions of the conjuring. He probably can't change the conditions with which he summoned this dome. But what other conditions did he demand? Minato then turned his head slightly to see the golden wisps of chakra that formed the dome overhead. Activating his sensing technique wordlessly and without seals, Minato tried to feel the chakra forming the dome. Feeling the dark undercurrent, Minato snapped open his eyes. You are using yin chakra to maintain the barrier. Standing up, he let the dust fall from his flak jacket. Second, you are not God in here. You have used your seals to create conditions here. Conditions that are favorable to you, sure, but you can deviate from them. Third, you are within a time limit with this technique. Minato observed as he saw some of the wisps of chakra flickering in and out at the edges. Instead of an angry retort or utter silence that he was used to when he deduced the techniques of his opponents, Minato received a heartfelt and loud booming laughter. Naruto clapped his hands and nodded. You truly are magnificent, Minato. You deserve your rank and the title of the Yellow Flash. Your insights are amazing. Indeed, you are correct, believe it. But, your insight cannot save you here, Minato. There is no use in knowing how this technique works if you cannot deduce how to oppose it. Adamantine sealing chains erupted once more, focusing on Minato. But this time, instead of coming from the ground, the chains erupted from all sides of the dome, attacking Minato with a ferocity that was unmatched previously. However, Minato did not lose his calm. He maintained a steely gaze and then started to go through hand seals. It has been a while since I saw an Uzumaki go full out. I had forgotten how strong their highest caliber ninjas could be. Jiraiya muttered as he saw the action inside the dome. He slumped down onto his seat, scratching his chin thoughtfully. To think I would see the dead demon prison seal in person. My great uncle used to tell me stories about it when I was young, Tsunade murmured, her hazel eyes watching the commotion as well, following the incredibly fast movements perfectly well. I begged Grandma Mito to teach it to me when I was small. She forbade it. Because you aren't Uzumaki? Dan asked inquisitively, squinting his eyes as he tried to follow the action in the arena. No. Tsunade shook her head, her pigtails swaying with the wind. Senju and Uzumaki shared their secret techniques all the time. No. It was because I simply did not have the chakra capacity or perfect balance between my yin and yang chakras to even think about conjuring the dead demon prison seal. It would have likely hospitalized me if I tried. And to think the new Uzumaki brat was hiding this under his sleeve. Jiraiya clenched his fists as his gaze narrowed in on the newcomer redeed in the arena. The dead demon prison seal, the seal used by the Uzumaki to bind even the kami of death. To be perfectly honest, Minato hated using Sage Mode. He could mold nature chakra in short bursts to provide a huge bite in his taijutsu, sure, but actually molding it and holding it in was something that Minato found to be exceedingly hard. It was like his body was a humongous dam that was about to explode in a few seconds. But it was his get out of jail card and he needed to use it if he wished to break out of this dome of death. Feeling the nature chakra coat his body, Minato started to mold his yang chakra, and just moments before the chakra chains attacking him could touch him, Minato let his nature and yang chakra loose from his body. The chains were thrown back and Minato immediately attacked the dome overhead with two Rasengans, one in each palm. Adding nature chakra to supplement his already powerful attack, Minato observed with some relief that the dome was cracking. He jumped back down and used his Rasengans to punch away wayward chains and jumped again, attacking the same spot on the dome wall, piling pressure onto the cracking and attacking the yin chakra of the barrier with an explosion of his yang chakra. Minato repeated the same attack for a third time, batting away a third wave of chains. A small chip of solidified chakra fell to the ground. The barrier dome exploded in a bright display of light as Minato was pushed back in a wave of chakra that burned through some parts of his flak jacket. As Minato tumbled away, he let the temporary Sage Mode he was using fall apart, breathing in a relieved sigh. If I maintained that any longer, I would have become a stone toad not too soon after. See Pops. Asuma pointed out excitedly, the straw in his mouth unchewed for the last quarter of an hour. Minato-sensei destroyed the barrier. Has he? Hiruzen raised an eyebrow as his eyes strayed from the action to his youngest son. Whatever the case, it seems that Kushina's new cousin will be a handful for sure. As Minato wobbled slightly, still feeling fatigued from his brief use of Sage Mode, he heard clapping in the distance. Standing upright, he saw Naruto clapping, with a true smile on his face. That was truly spectacular, Minato. Your use of nature chakra and overbearing yang chakra managed to break through the dome with sheer power and grit. Not many can say that they have escaped a dead demon prison seal. You truly deserve that honor, believe it. But you aren't winning this fight. Naruto knelt down and picked up one of Minato's used kunai. Naruto quickly threw it at Minato. Before Minato could formulate a response to the attack, Naruto went through some hand seals. Jinjutsu. Bringer of Darkness Jutsu. Minato snapped into action as he felt his eyesight dim into nothingness, dodging the thrown kunai. Minato ardently ignored the feeling like he was in a dark hole and went through his own series of hand seals, blowing out powerful wind bullets that he knew were punching holes into the walls of the arena. Feeling Naruto's feet shuffle before leaping at him, Minato twirled midair as he dodged a punch and then landed on his feet, his kunai poking Naruto's belly. As the darkness dissipated, Minato saw Naruto's own kunai poised at his head. It seems that we have a tie. Mr. Minato. Naruto acknowledged as he eyed the kunai poking him in the stomach. Minato dared not move, making sure that Naruto's own kunai poised at his head did not strike. As the blonde and Reed stood in the middle of the arena, both of them took a second to breathe. Around them, the proudly maintained Konoha fighting arena was destroyed beyond recognition. The pond had dried up from the severity of the clash between the dome's yin chakra and Minato's yang chakra. The flat ground had been torn apart and looked reminiscent of the dangerous terrain in the land of Earth. Dust and soot flew everywhere as a result of their clash. Minato sighed and lowered his kunai. It seems that we do. Shinku warily body flickered back down into the arena from the stands and raised his hands. The examination fight between Naruto Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze has ended. The fight is a tie. You fought well. Hiruzen complimented Naruto that evening as the tired Reed plopped into his office. Naruto turned his bright eyes onto the third Hokage and nodded. Thanks, Naruto mumbled in reply as he flexed his muscles. Ah, but that fight was tiring. Mr. Minato is an amazing shinobi. I didn't think anyone but you or the legendary Sannin could escape the dome. That was my ace in the hole. Hiruzen smiled congenially as he stapled his fingers on the desk. You can drop the act, Mr. Uzumaki. I know for certain that you did not use everything you knew in the fight. Neither did Minato for that matter, but you held the advantage in the fight. Yet you gave it away for a tie. In a severely anticlimactic manner, I must add. I have no idea what you're talking about, Gramps. The third Hokage leaned back calmly. Whatever you say, Naruto. Whatever you say. Nonetheless, you showed immense aptitude during the fight. I cannot in good conscience not hand you any rank below Takebetsu Jonin. Thus, your rank shall be Takebetsu Jonin. Consider it a temporary probation. You shall be a full Jonin in a year's time. Naruto thanked him and stood to leave. Hiruzen observed the Reed walk as Naruto paused with his hand on the doorknob. Turning towards Hiruzen, Naruto asked, "Thanks, old man." Naruto mumbled something else under his breath and left. Hiruzen could have sworn he imagined the words. Naruto had mumbled too silently for Hiruzen to have heard properly. But 6 decades of honed battle and survival instincts conveyed the words back to him. I'll save you, old man. I'll save Dad, Mom, everyone. The third fire shadow leaned back. And now, weren't those words a right mystery? Chapter 5. Hidden Rain Archi. Naori knelt before the Hokage, taking in a deep breath as the snowy breeze brushed past her, making her hair flutter in a violet wave. Her obsidian eye trained itself on the concrete floor beneath her as she forced herself to stay still. Light pouches of snow filled up at the sides of the Hokage Tower's terrace as the third Hokage took another deep drag from his infamous pipe. Letting some smoke rings form in the snowy air, the third Hokage trained his wizened eyes on Naori, who did her best not to acknowledge the move. Naori clenched her hand, letting her new eye wander a bit before settling it down properly. Taking calming but long breaths, she finally looked up to face the Hokage up close. Lord Hokage. I am here, as ordered. Naori. Hiruzen acknowledged with a slight nod. I hope your new eye is not giving you much trouble. Naori shook her head, her new eye which was deep green twinkling in the morning sun, giving her green and obsidian eyes a heterochromia flavor. I mourn the loss of one of my Sharingan, but my new eye is working fine, Lord Hokage. Good. You cannot afford an ailment such as a bad eye for the new mission I hope to entrust you with. Hiruzen puffed out another smoke ring before setting his pipe back into his robes. Jonin Naori-cha. I hope to assign you and your squad an A-rank mission into the land of wetlands. Naori's new eye widened by a fraction. Land of wetlands. A Megaka rules over their lands. Hanzo of the Salamander will crush us if he finds Konoha shinobi in his territory. Yes. Hiruzen had evidently noticed the widening even if Naori tried to hide it. If Hanzo ever finds out that your squad is in the region, then you will likely find yourself killed. As such, it is imperative that you and your squad be as sneaky as is humanly possible. If anyone finds out about your squad, eliminate them. Of course, Naori murmured, letting her purple hair drape over her back slightly. May I ask what mission will I be conducting? I would rather not repeat it too many times, Hiruzen answered her, watching the heavens with a concealed gaze. Let us wait for the rest of your squad to arrive. Then I shall reveal the contents of your mission. I would also like to mention that I have added Naruto Uzumaki to your squad. You are to observe him and report all your findings during the mission back to me. Do not let the others know of this. Why is he assigned to my team? Naori bit out with her protestations taking over her normal formality in front of the Hoage. I apologize Lord Hoage, but he and I do not mesh well. All he has done to me until now is irritate me. I cannot have someone such as him close to me during such a delicate mission. I am pulling all of the strongest shinobi I can muster that is currently not deployed to the front lines. Your squad fits the description. And of course, so does Naruto Uzumaki. Hiruzen pointed out calmly, ignoring her protestations. You do agree that he is strong, don't you? Naori shrank back as she nodded reluctantly. She remembered the display from the prior week. He tied with the yellow flash. The yellow flash. I knew he was strong. But I didn't consider him to be that strong. That technique that created that Orm his Fuinjutsu was strong, and even the Mangekyo Sharingan would have been troubled by that Jinjutsu at the end. Yes, he is strong. But still. Before she could try to negotiate with the Hoage further, 4 flashes of the body flicker formed on the terrace, revealing 3 of her old teammates and 1 new one. Hisashi Hyuga knelt down beside Naori, his long black hair tied to a perfect knot, wearing the standard Konoha flak jacket and standard issue pants. His featureless wide eyes stared right ahead at the Hoage. To her left, Ichigo Sarutobi, the eldest son of the 3rd Hoage, knelt down as well, facing his father with grim eyes. On the other side of Ichigo, Haruka Abiram knelt down, her deep black hair falling to the ground next to her. Next to Hisashi, Naruto knelt down but stared ahead with a glint in his azure blue eyes. Ah, Team 20, it's good to see all of you here now. Hiruzen greeted them all with a wide spread of his hands before shuffling and holding them behind his frame again. I am assigning you a mission to the land of wetlands. It goes without saying that this is an A rank mission and I need the utmost secrecy being utilized by all of you during this mission. Your objective is to find all of the Iwa and Suna spy cells operating in the land of wetlands. Try and find out if they are in contact with Hanzo or not. If you can, eliminate them. And return back to Konoha with your newfound intel. I hope to expect you all back in front of me within a month. Naori nodded, soaking in her mission details. To her far right, Naruto perked up and raised his hand. Hiruzen motioned his head at him, inviting him to ask his question. Old man, what do we do if we face Hanzo? Naruto asked with a curious tilt to his voice. Hisashi, Ichigo, and Haruka lurched as they collectively turned towards Naruto at the sheer disrespect present in his tone. Hisashi's eyes were widening, and Ichigo seemed confused at the entire situation. Haruka remained emotionless as usual, but even her twitching eyebrow gave away her surprise at the situation. Naori sighed in a long-suffering whine before pinching the bridge of her nose in irritation. I can already feel the headache coming. To her eternal frustration, it seemed that Hiruzen didn't seem to mind the disrespectful tone and irritating nickname. He smiled indulgently before answering the question. If you face Hanzo and survive to tell the tale, I expect it to be in the report Naruto. Nothing more, nothing less. Obviously, I hope you don't have to face him, but in the case that it is unavoidable, then I hope you can make out of it alive. Fair enough old man. Naruto quipped back, nodding happily before settling down back into his kneeling position. Naori scowled at him slightly before turning back to the Hoage. Lord Hoage. Team 20 is ready to accept your mission. We shall depart immediately. Naori recited in a monotone voice, keeping her head level with the Hoage. The Hokage's eyes flickered to Naruto before turning back to Naori. Naori nodded subtly, with a slight incline to her head, acknowledging the Hokage's earlier assignment. Keep an eye on Naruto. Got it. Then, Team 20, disperse. The Hoage commanded firmly, his face set into a grim line. 5 bodies flickered immediately, leaving the 3rd Hoage alone atop the Hoage terrace. So, what are the positions we are to maintain? Ichigo asked Naori quietly as they passed a town northwest of Konoha. Naori stopped on a branch as she waited for the rest of her team to fall in line with her. The heat had started to pour out of her ears at the consistent amount of questions that her newest charge had been spewing in her direction. Having to answer every inane question about the Land of Fire to Naruto over the course of the last day hadn't just irritated her, but had managed to irritate even the normally emotionless Haruka, composed Hisashi and self-assured Ichigo. But as the border of the Land of Wetlands came into sight, it was time to think seriously. Her 3 old teammates shuffled a bit uneasily as Naruto fell in line with them on the branch. You have jurisdiction as our squad leader, Naori. Naori turned slightly to look at her teammates quietly before nodding. She faced Naruto and then sighed. Naruto, you are the strongest shinobi among all of us here. You are taking the lead. Strongest? Ichigo questioned, surprised. He leaned forward, letting his spiky hair fall backward. Really? He tied with the yellow flash during his examination fight, Naori confirmed with a curt confirming nod. Ichigo side-eyed Naruto with an impressed glint in his eye, having seemingly forgotten his previous irritation with the redeed. Ichigo, you're the one with the largest firepower amongst all of us. You are going to be behind Naruto to back him up against any frontal assault. As I need to judge both our front and back, I will be in the middle. Naori then turned to her last two remaining teammates. Haruka, you're behind me. Keep your bugs scattered in a perimeter so that we know anything going around us. Hisashi, with your Byakugan, you're going to be behind Haruka. Keep an eye on anything that may be following us, alright? Hisashi nodded. Her old three teammates took up their positions quietly, barely making a noise on the branch. They all turned expectantly at Naruto, who replied with a deadpan tone to the unasked questions. Bull. What now? Naori scowled at him. Must he always be this irritating goofball? If AIM ninjas find intel about us when we cross into the land of wetlands, and we must assume they will, always assume the worst, then this is exactly the formation they will be expecting from us, Naruto grumbled, slightly put out at Naori's nippy tone. He leaned back at the bark of the tree as he continued his explanation. They'll counter us easily after that. Gotta mix it up, Ms. Naori. If we are in a position where we aren't predictable, they won't know what hit them in the end. Naori inclined her head. Well, Naruto did have a point, she flushed the suggestion down. They won't get intel about us. This entire mission is about secrecy and we shall maintain it. Naruto, get into position. Naruto stared back at her stubbornly. Feeling her irritation at Naruto rapidly turn into anger, her left eye morphed into the Sharingan before morphing into the Mangekyo, its petal formation staring down at Naruto impassively. Naruto blinked before he squared his shoulders. Fine. Just don't blame me if anything goes wrong. But Danzo, as active as he was in the wetlands during the Third War, Hanzo probably already knows about us at his border. Naruto grumbled mentally as he took his position in front of the group and then started to move forward. Within a few seconds, the group crossed a river that denoted the border between the land of fire and the land of wetlands. Naruto kept his eyes trained in front of him, ignoring how slippery the terrain had become as he continually suppressed his chakra. Still, land of wetlands, huh? Keeping my head down after the fight was the correct decision after all. If I can help Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan during this mission as a little side adventure, then well, who's to know, eh? PSST. Ichigo's hushed whisper broke Naruto out of his thoughts. Inclining the back of his blood-red hair slightly in acknowledgement, Naruto kept looking forward. Yeah? What's the deal with you, Red? Ichigo asked with a curious tone to his smooth voice. Naori is visibly and seemingly perpetually irritated with you. That's her deal, Naruto answered back with a shrug, still keeping his head straight forward as he deftly maneuvered around a massive marshland. Dunno why she was so uptight. She's been like that ever since I met her back in the land of grass. Well, she's a prim and proper kind of lady, Ichigo answered after a beat. She doesn't like your antics, Red. I mean, calling my father an old man. That's dangerously close to insubordination, Red. Well, your dad doesn't seem to mind, does he? Naruto pointed out. And come on, Seru. Being prim and proper is no excuse for being so uptight like those stuck-up Uchiha and Hyuga. Hey, don't call me that, Ichigo muttered back mutinously. Still, ya got a point there, Red. But, I've known Naori for years and got to side with her naturally. Sorry kid, I like you, but she's the team leader. Don't interrupt or irritate her, if only for the integrity of the mission. If someone's made a stupid decision, you've got to acknowledge that, Seru, Naruto answered back seriously with his tone level and low. But anyways, I'm not gonna argue with you about this. Still. Naruto stilled, stopping himself from speaking mid-sentence. Behind him, the rest of Team 20 stopped, looking at him with confused eyes. Naruto crouched, flicking his right hand from a low position without speaking. 2. Watching. Us. No one is watching us, Hisashi spoke up for the first time during the mission. His ocular nerves were bulging as he activated his bloodline, the Byakugan surveying the surrounding area. I believe you are mistaken, Mr. Uzumaki. Yes. Came Haruka's soft voice. She knelt down to the ground to converse with a bug and stood up again. There is no one else but us here. We are only about 20 kilometers inside the land of wetlands. A Megakure would not be able to detect us so fast. Both of you are wrong. Naruto hummed contemplatively before his eyes flashed to the western direction. A deep and marshy wetland was sprawled out in front of them in that direction. Before anyone could rebuff the red-deeded Uzumaki, Naruto threw 2 kunai into the marshland. Naori marched up front, ready to resume the mission after reprimanding Naruto, but suddenly all 5 of them felt movement. A tiny, small burst of chakra as someone, or a small group of people, changed their position inside the marshland to dodge the incoming kunai. The rest of the team turned to the west direction mechanically, their eyes trained on the marshland with a steely gaze. The enemy ninjas who were silently observing them sprang into action, not willing to waste time and give Team 20 the benefit of figuring out a proper response. 2 AIM ninjas wearing Jonin flak jackets revealed themselves from the marshland, coming into view and then leaping forward, landing 50 feet away from the squad. The taller one, with brown hair, stood up. Konoha ninja. What are you doing inside the land of wetlands? If you have a permit, please show them to me. Or turn back. Immediately. Naori hummed and stepped forward. Our team here is on a sanctioned mission from the Hoage and Lord Hanzo. If you wish to see our permit, then you must file an application inside Omegacor's foreign office. That is bullshit. The smaller AIM ninja with black hair growled out. All land of wetland permits are handed out to the foreign party seeking entry. You are trespassing, Konoha ninjas. Go back or we will have a problem in our hands. There are only 2 of them and 5 of us, Ichigo whispered to the group as he started to flex his fingers in anticipation, his dark eyes gleaming. Naruto frowned before turning back to Ichigo. There is a grid set up in that marshland there. If he jumps back and uses the summoning jutsu, then he will probably summon a battalion. We cannot have a battalion going missing. Too obvious, believe it. Naruto muttered back. Without waiting for a prompt from Naori, Naruto leaped into action. The only thing that the rest of the group observed was a red color blur before the 2 AIM ninjas fell down to the ground, clutching their necks as blood started to leak from the sudden gashed wounds that were present on their necks. The 2 tried to gasp for air, but as Naruto twirled the kunai in his hand and placed it back into his holster, the 2 took their last breaths. What was that? Naori hissed, coming out of her stupor. I had the situation handled. I took care of them, Naruto answered back blandly as he sealed the 2 dead bodies into a sealing scroll. Didn't you hear what the old man told us? Eliminate anything in our way. We couldn't afford for these 2 knuckleheads to suddenly use the sealing formula grid behind us to summon an entire battalion. Even if we defeated them, a missing battalion would raise alarm bells in Omegacor. 2 guard ninjas near the border going missing on the other hand won't. Naori bit back a scathing reply as she narrowed her eyes at Naruto. He's still a goofball in many ways, but he becomes almost uncharacteristically serious when the main part of the mission begins interesting. I can see why Lord Hoage wanted me to keep an eye on him. Well, that's well and good, but how did you see them when Hisashi and Haruka couldn't? Ichigo spoke up, his eyes unnaturally sharp as the Sarutobi observed Naruto walking back to them. Naruto held up a slip of paper with seals on them as he shrugged. Nick these before sealing the 2 bodies. Seems to be a suppressor seal. Hides from chakra and chakra sentient beings. The Byakugan and Aburam bugs would have passed right over them with this seal stuck on them. Hanzo is known as a semi-accomplished sealer as well. So it shouldn't be a surprise. How did you sense them then? Hisashi asked silently, his Byakugan still active as he observed Naruto. His chakra thought Kushina had ridiculous reserves, but her cousin he dwarfs anyone in the village by leagues. These Uzumakido be gifted with so much chakra. You can't hide from natural chakra, Naruto answered as he handed the suppressing seal to Naori, who observed the seal quietly. Naori sighed and placed the seal into her pocket and then looked up to face Naruto fully. Just try to follow my lead in the future please. Naori asked silently as she observed Naruto. His azure eyes were looking at her with a glint in them that Naori couldn't place. Come. We're not too far away from a border town. We can rent a place and set up our base of operations there. If you come into the land of wetlands and into Omegacor territory when you travel back, you should be wary of the suppressor seal I developed, Hanzo murmured to Naruto as he continued to look at the various seals in front of him. Naruto perked up and looked to the side, where Hanzo was looking resolutely at the ground, not showing Naruto the black sclera that denoted his reanimation from the dead. If you go there with someone with the Byakugan, Sharingan, or even the Aburam, Inuzuka or other trackers, you will not be able to track them. Only someone adept in Fuinjutsu or nature chakra will be able to snuff them out. It's why it took Pain so long to defeat me, even with his Rinnegan. Nagato. Naruto corrected Hanzo politely. He took a deep breath and looked at Hanzo fully, turning away from the scores of great seals in front of him, scattered around the desk. Hanzo, why did you let Danzo of all people manipulate you? I've always wondered about that. You know. You could ask that question directly to Danzo, could you not? With that reanimation technique of the second Hokage that you've mastered now? Hanzo questioned with a bitter undertone. I could. Naruto hummed as he leaned back on his chair, rocking it back and forth for a bit. But to be honest, I would rather not reanimate him. I don't know how his experiment body would interact with the spare white Zetsus I have here, and I don't know if I can restrain myself from pummeling the bastard to the ground the moment he is reanimated. I don't have the restraint. Hanzo was silent for a beat. The calm atmosphere of the bunker in the land of spring snow remained quiet as Naruto leveled a questioning gaze on Hanzo. Hanzo sighed and rubbed his nose before answering. Knowing what I know right now, I would believe that Danzo used the Kodomatsu Kami on me. Kagami Uchiha was famous for it and he went missing on a mission that Danzo had assigned. It wouldn't surprise me if the original Sharingan that Danzo had before stealing Shisui Uchiha's was Kagami's. Combined with honeyed words and the right whispers at the right time, well, you saw the results. So if I come across your younger self, what should I do? Naruto pondered as he placed a finger on his chin in deep thought. I wouldn't accept a straight answer back then. Hanzo smiled bitterly, his reanimated eyeballs flickering toward Naruto. I would not believe I was being manipulated. Not at first. You will need to defeat me. And then when I am down, spare me. Tell me what you know. And then break the Kodomatsu Kami. Only then will I believe you. Naruto nodded resolutely. Free the land, Hanzo said suddenly. He leaned forward, looking Naruto squarely in the eyes. Promise me. When you go back, free me and make the land of wetlands proud. Make it great. Naruto's face softened. Of course. I owe that much to Nagato and Konan. Hell, I owe that much to Yahiko as well, and I haven't met the schmuck in my entire life. I apologize about my outbursts earlier. Naori's voice broke Naruto out of his memories. Huh? Was Naruto's intelligent response as he broke out of his meditative pose. Sitting atop the table in the middle of the living room of the small flat that the five of them had rented, Naruto had been blissfully lost in his memories. Honestly, the small town of Takatori around 35 miles away from the border to the land of fire was drab and dull, and the small flat that they had rented was way too small for Naruto's tastes. Having to sleep with 3 adults in one room squeezed from all sides didn't sound too comfortable, but well, he was a shinobi. And shinobi had to do what a shinobi had to do. I apologize, Naori repeated, tucking a strand of her purple hair back as she sat down carefully on the couch next to the table. I shouldn't have been so irritated with your questions and your actions earlier. You are a foreigner. Or were a foreigner. Of course, you would have questions about a part of the land of fire you haven't been to before. And your quick thinking stopped any sort of major confrontation between us and a Megacure. Her sincere tone made Naruto rub the back of his neck with embarrassment. Ah, there's no need. I can understand that I get overbearing and hard to work with sometimes, believe it. I apologize too, if I did anything wrong. You could be more understanding. Naori chided softly before leaning back. This is the first mission I am leading after that disastrous mission in the land of grass. I am nervous, as you can probably understand. But that wasn't your fault. Naruto's raised an eyebrow. It was your other clansmen who decided to use a reality warping genjutsu and then succumb to its effects. You were the one trying to help them out of it. How's Naka by the way? Haven't seen the guy since then. I wanted to speak about the merits of traveling by seal with him. If I have the endorsement of Uchiha, I can start a great business. One that outstrips Pervy Sage's own fortune. Believe it. He's fine. Stuck with some insipid D ranks as a part of his probation. Naori answered before sighing. And yes, while I understand that the other using Izanagi wasn't my fault, it is still hard to digest. I lost an entire battalion under my command. I don't understand how Lord Hoage can trust me with leading another important mission. Naruto patted Naori's hair in a comforting way, making her freeze for a second as she glared at Naruto. Naruto just smiled at her and said, look. The old man is the Hoage who led Konoha to victory during the First and Second Great Shinobi Wars. He struck the second Raikage down. He tore apart the Land of Woods. And he led the greatest squad in Konoha's history, the team of the legendary Sannin. If he believes you can lead this mission, then he's got to have a good reason for it. If your leader doesn't doubt you, then you shouldn't either, believe it. Naruto smiled at Naori with a dazzling smile as he widened his face to accommodate his smile. His whiskers elongated slightly, making Naruto look like a cute red color fox. Naori turned away with a slight dust of pink on her cheeks. Thank you. I needed to hear that. No problem. Naruto nodded happily. Stretching his hands, Naruto stood up and walked away from the table before sitting down next to Naori on the couch. So Saru told you about our conversation from earlier? Yes. Naori nodded as she inched away slightly, giving space for Naruto to sit down properly. And don't call him that. Ah, I'll call him like I see it. His beard combined with his spiky brown hair and sharp eyes make him look like a monkey. Naruto snickered, throwing his head back in a loud guffaw. Naori failed to stop a small giggle from breaking out. It was true. The third Hokage's eldest son did look like a monkey. Perhaps it was indicative of the entire Sarutobi clan as a whole, but Ichigo did live up to the monkey ninja stereotype that his clan had. Ah, I can call you Fox as well. With those whiskers, you look like a right foxy fellow. Came Ichigo's mumbled rebuff as he entered the living room after his short nap, his eyes still wary and bleary. Well, I wouldn't call you out for that. I do look like a fox. Naruto agreed enthusiastically. Ah, Mr. Uzumaki. His ashy soft voice approached them as the Hyuga came out of the room as well, having evidently woken up as well. You, Naori, and Haruka can go to sleep now. It's our night shift to look after us now. Naruto yawned into his hand. Ah, thanks. Good night Ms. Naori. Ms. Haruka. You're wasting your time playing regular old ninja with these fools. Came the grunting reply of his eternal companion. His infamous 9 tails swayed in the wind that was conjured in his own mind. Naruto glanced up, looking at Kurama. Or to be clear, Kurama's spirit. The translucent fade that his eternal companion had was flickering slightly, as if Kurama was going to be dragged back into Pure Land. You should just get on with it. Kill Madara. Kill Zetsu. Seal the moon. And then bash that Ishiki guy to the ground. And then scatter Shibai's remains and seal the Otsutsuki forever. Ishiki is strong. Naruto murmured to Kurama's ghost. Well, ghost was the operative term. But the reality was that the Kurama inside of Naruto was simply a yin chakra imprint of the real Kurama who had died back in Naruto's own time. He killed you, remember? How could I forget, brat? Kurama grunted back as he leaned down inside the mindscape, looking at the idyllic landscape that Naruto had imagined. With every passing second in the past, I can feel my imprint dissolving, seeping back into the Kurama of this time. I will disappear in the future, back into your dratted mother's gut. Finish the job, save the future, before that happens. Don't remind me, Naruto murmured as he tried to lean into Kurama's tails softly but failed as the translucent tails went right through him. Naruto fought back tears that threatened to prick at the edge of his eyes as he sniffled into his hand and then turned back to face Kurama's light red eyes, which were watching him with a slight sense of moroseness. But, I have to do this. For Konan. For Nagato. For Yuhiko. Even for Hanzo. You owe them nothing. Kurama growled as he shuffled, looking at the small butterflies flying inside of Naruto's mindscape. Nagato and Konan killed the old perverted sage. Dear godfather. You didn't even know Yuhiko, and it isn't your duty to make the land of wetlands better. You mustn't stray from the bigger picture, Naruto. Naruto smiled softly as he sat down on the green grass of his mindscape, joining his partner in observing the idyllic life around him. I wouldn't have befriended you if I hadn't strayed from the bigger picture, you know. Kurama's eyes softened as he sat down on the ground, his snout blowing invisible hair onto Naruto's head. That's true. But still, we can't afford to lose our second chance. Because there is no third chance. Absolutely none at all. Naruto, I know you see the urgency in all of this, yet you stay here playing fiddle with that Uchiha bitch, Sarutobi brat, and the pale-eyed bastard, and that emotionless insect lady. Hey, don't call them that. Naruto protested slightly as he waved his arms around before settling down. Don't worry, Kurama. You still have some time before getting into the other Kurama. And just like with you, I will cure your younger self of hatred. If that's the last thing I can do, I will do it. Believe it. I know you will, Kurama murmured softly as both partners stayed in silence, spending Naruto's sleep together, reminiscing about a bygone era, lost to the future. Deep within the confines of Mount Myaboku, Gamamaru opened his eyes. Rasping he spoke. Hearken to the tales foretold. By ancient whispers, secrets unfold. The weaver of time, his essence binds. A harbinger of doom, where chaos finds. Upon his arrival, a divine storm shall break. The calamity of the gods, no respite to partake. A crossroads beckons, a choice profound. To raise or raise the earth, a fate unbound. The 6 paths are mystic and intertwined. Their enlightenment suff, a destiny defined. Lest life succumbs to ruin's embrace, the choice must be made in this sacred space. With hair as dark as garnet and eye as light as the sky, in prophecy sung, shall bear the burden, his destiny strung. A sacrifice grand, the ultimate price, for the weave of existence, a solemn device. Time's tapestry unraveled, a cycle reborn, heed the warning, lest destiny be torn. Decide, with wisdom and mirth, for the threads of existence hinge on your worth. Ha! To think you actually succeeded, Naruto. Well done, young lad. Hagoromo would be proud. Chapter 6. Hidden Rain Arc 2. As his genin team trained in the fields, Minato took the time to stretch and yawn as he relaxed on the small tree branch that he was lounging in. Being sent to the front lines so often against Iwa and their invasion of the Land of Fire, and the constant need to look after his team and of course, the need to balance his own life was a tiring and thankless job. When people looked at him, they saw the great yellow flash of Konoha, but didn't see the tired man behind the calm and collected mask. Letting his spiky blonde hair fall to the side as he fully leaned back on the rough bark of the tree, Minato's blue eyes looked heavenward as he recalled the conversation that he had with the Hoage that morning. Kushina's cousin has been sent to AIM. He is being monitored. You need not worry about any threat from him to Kushina, however. I do think he is sincere in his wish to protect her. Perhaps what the third Hoage told him was true. It was most probably true, Minato acknowledged grudgingly. Still, as an orphan who had risen through the ranks in Konoha through sheer determination, grit, and hard work, and yes, he was talented, but Minato firmly subscribed to the belief that talent without hard work was worth nothing. Minato did not trust easily. He especially did not like the convenience of missing family members popping out of the woodwork after more than a decade. Kushina was dear to Minato's heart and he would not have anyone, even another Uzumaki, hurt her. Especially another Uzumaki, considering how high in esteem Kushina seemed to have placed her newfound cousin. The optimist in me sincerely wishes to believe that I have found a strong and trustworthy future cousin brother-in-law. But the realist in me ponders about his sudden appearance. Despite clearing Inoichi's test, we still don't know his past. TCH, I don't like this situation at all. Still, Minato couldn't deny that Naruto was strong and had style. The inner author in him, having Jiraiya as a teacher, had made him a bit of a literature connoisseur. Had approved of the banter between himself and Minato. The "you're no longer God. I am" phrase that Naruto had proclaimed went hard. Honestly, if it had been Minato, he would have added more of a flair to it, but still, breaking the original line would be something akin to blasphemy. And he was strong. Very strong. Minato had held back considerably during the fight, but then, so had Naruto. Neither of them was aiming to kill or injure permanently, and both of them were trying to give a show for the sake of the examination fight's audience. Minato narrowed his eyes as he considered the hypothetical possibility of fighting Naruto with nothing held back. Considering the damaged state of the fighting arena and the hefty bill that had been sent to his bank account, Minato shuddered at the sheer hypothetical scale of destruction that would emerge as a result of that fight. "What's got your panties in a twist?" came his sensei's cheery voice. Minato inclined his head, acknowledging his sensei as Jiraiya's body flickered in front of him, his wild and spiky white mane announcing his entrance grandly. "Still thinking about that fight, Minato?" "Yeah." Minato nodded slightly as he kept his eyes trained on Kakashi, who was exchanging practice blows with Obito and Rin in the training field below. "He's been sent to aim with a squad. Something about flushing out enemy spy cells in the region without getting Hanzo involved." "Aim huh?" Jiraiya reminisced, placing his hands on his waistline. Minato had barely been a genin when the Second Great Shinobi War had ended. It had consumed the entirety of the great nations, and the death toll had been incredibly high. But everyone knew about the tripartite invasion of the land of wetlands. As Suna, Iwa and Konoha invaded AIM, Hanzo sent all three of the invasions running back. Jiraiya had earned his title as Sannin in those bloody days. I still wonder what those three are up to. I haven't heard of them in a long while. "You mean the three orphans you taught during the war?" Minato asked lightly, trying to keep the slight tinge of jealousy out of his voice. It was childish of him, he knew, but still. He practically raised those three kids. He taught me, but he didn't do that with me. To me, I'm just his student. His most favored and loved student, yes, but those three are like his own children. Yeah. Nagato, Konan and Yahiko. Jiraiya murmured as he placed an inquisitive finger on his chin. I haven't been sent on a mission to AIM in ages. Would have loved to catch up with those three. Anyway, so Kushina's new cousin is there, huh? Well, at least we know that he can handle himself in a fight if Hanzo gets involved. He can handle himself, yes, Minato grumbled, still put out with the fight. Sensei, is it wrong of me to want him to stay away from Kushina? Well, the Uzumaki weren't believers in keeping the bloodline pure. So he wouldn't pursue a cousin marriage, unlike the Uchiha and Hyuga, if that's what you mean. Jiraiya chuckled humorously as Minato coughed uncomfortably at the taboo mental image that was sadly all too present in some of the more pretentious clans all throughout the nations. More seriously, I know you're wary of the kid, Minato. But honestly, after observing him and speaking with Tsunade, he seems to be a good kid. Maybe. But he is hiding a secret. Kid. We're shinobi. All of us have secrets. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Shinobi with a refugee background is bound to have secrets. Don't try and angst over it. He passed the Yamanaka's mind-walking test. Plus, Sarutobi-sensei and Tsunade seem to like him. That's enough for me. I would like that to be enough for me as well, sensei. Minato thought solemnly. But there's something about him that unsettles me so much. Something that I am sure will come into the forefront in the future. So you're a sage? Naori asked curiously as she leaned forward inquisitively, trying to discern Naruto and his comments about natural chakra. 2 days after arriving in Takatori, all of them had tried to find information about foreign shinobi from the civilians, but had scarce information to show for it. For the moment, all 5 of them were inside the kitchen of the flat they had rented, getting ready for lunch. Naruto looked up, his blue eyes twinkling. Yes. That's how I use natural chakra to sense those 2 AIM ninjas at the border. So which summoning contract do you have for it? Naori asked, genuinely curious, as she waited calmly for the lunch that Haruka was cooking. Only Lord Jiraiya and I think Mr. Namikaze know how to use sage mode in the entire village. We Uchiha have the cat summoning contract. I don't know if the Uzumaki have a clan summoning contract though. None. Naruto shrugged as he took the plate of ramen that Haruka placed in front of him with relish. Hey, thanks Ms. Haruka for making ramen for me on my request. Haruka hummed and accepted the gratitude silently as she moved to hand his Ashi the plate of udon that she had prepared for him. Naori blinked as she bit into her rice cakes. Really? Only Lord Jiraiya and Mr. Namikaze are the only sages I know of other than you. And both of them use the Toad summoning contract for their sage modes, according to what I know. According to Dad, my grandfather could use sage mode with the monkey summoning contract too. Ichigo interrupted the conversation. Having had some street foods in the morning, the Sarutobi wasn't hungry and was just lounging next to the group. Sasuke Sarutobi was a name feared far and wide during the Warring States era. Wonder why he didn't learn it himself though. Well. Naruto paused before launching into the explanation that was forming in his throat. Summoning contracts help a great deal. The space-time link between summon and summoner helps the summoner coordinate the natural chakra that they are pulling into them, whilst the summon stabilizes the nature chakra. That's why among the rare examples of those who can use sage mode, some kind of animalistic trait is seen. But it isn't strictly necessary. If you can stabilize and coordinate natural chakra by yourself, you can use sage mode without a summoning contract. The first Hoage used sage mode and he didn't have a contract. All it did was give him some facial tattoos of some kind. Besides, I can't use the Toad contract without signing it, can I? I haven't signed it at this time. As Ashi looked up from his Yuden with a glint of fascination in his pupil-less eyes. You seem to be very knowledgeable about nature chakra and sage mode, Mr. Uzumaki. You almost sounded like an academic there. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck with an embarrassed grin, letting his deep garnet-colored hair fall to his sides. Well, it's something I'm passionate about, yeah, believe it. Mr. Uzumaki. Haruka interrupted the small talk as the insect user and designated chef of the group leaned forward on the kitchen counter. Despite using subtler methods of interrogation with the civilians, we haven't succeeded in finding an enemy cell. His Ashi's Byakugan cannot go beyond a few miles, and my insects can't go beyond a few kilometers away from me either. If it can be done, I believe we should use your sage mode to find an enemy cell. Naruto took a deep slurp from his ramen as he finished it. Casting a sad look at the finished plate of ramen, Naruto let out a sigh and then turned to Haruka with a smile. Sure. Give me a second. Naruto stood up and stood still for a fraction of a second. Immediately, golden markings formed around and underneath Naruto's eyes. A golden dot formed on his forehead which was surrounded by another concentric golden circle. Consciously stopping himself from utilizing his six-path sage mode, Naruto closed his eyes and 2 seconds later he opened his eyes. There are 5 Iwa shinobi not too far from here. Around 12 kilometers in the northwest direction. If we want to go after them, then I think we should go right now, you know. There are 6 other shinobi there too, 2 of those chakra signatures they feel familiar somehow. All of them turned their heads to Naori in askance. Naori for her part was looking at Naruto's sage mode with something akin to awe. The others, perhaps barring Ichigo, didn't recognize the rarity and the strength needed to use sage mode. The sheer amount of power needed to use sage mode just after a second of sitting still. He truly wasn't fighting to the best of his abilities against Mr. Namikaze. Breaking out of her stupor, Naori nodded to her squad. Without further ado, Team 20 scattered, leaving behind a quiet apartment. A few minutes later the 5 of them crept up to the northern mountain crevice. Down in the small mountain pass, Naruto squinted his eyes and forced himself to stay still as he saw the Iwa squad talking to a group of AIM ninjas. 3 of whom Naruto recognized. The deep orange hair, the brown hair. That was Yuhiko. The blood-red hair and the legendary Taijutsu, Nagato. The blue hair and papers swirling around her, that was Konan. The other 3 shinobi wearing AIM headbands were probably members of the first iteration of the Akatsuki, Naruto deduced. It's just my luck. To think I would actually run into these guys. In front of the 6 shinobi was a squad of 5 Iwa shinobi too. Wearing their typical red robes and flak jackets, the lead Iwa ninja was talking with Yuhiko in a low tone. Despite Naruto's attempts to try and listen in, Team 20 was simply too far away to listen in properly. Naori turned to his Ashi who quickly activated his Byakugan. Squinting his eyes he whispered back to Team 20 quietly, having read the lips of the shinobi down in the past. The orange-haired AIM ninja is trying to negotiate for the Iwa squad's withdrawal back to the land of Earth. The Iwa captain isn't considering the offer and is only asking for information about Hanzo in return. Why aren't the AIM ninja attacking the Iwa ninja? This is a blatant violation of their neutrality after all. Naori murmured quietly as she looked at the exchange going on below. The Iwa captain, Haruka murmured a hint of emotion in her normally emotionless voice. I recognize him. That is Natsuchi Kamizuru. He's the second son of the Kamizuru clan head. Ichigo side-eyed Haruka. You won't let your personal bias come in the middle of this, Haruka, right? You Abiram have always had a fierce rivalry with the Kamizuru. No. Haruka shook her head, her trench coat tightening a bit as her body grew more rigid. I'm not a rookie to do something like that. Is Naori? Came Naruto's uncharacteristically soft voice. Asking permission to engage Iwa cell. No. Came Naori's harsh whispered answer. Naruto, do you not remember what I told you 2 days ago? We must be careful about this and more importantly, please follow my lead. I am, Naruto mumbled back as he crouched low, his eyes narrowed at the Iwa group. But I can feel the Iwa buildup of chakra. They think negotiations have finished, evidently. But, it is your call. Naori narrowed her eyes at Naruto before turning to the scene developing below her. True to Naruto's word, the Iwa captain struck, sending his bees at the orange-haired AIM ninja. Chaos broke out as fighting broke out between the Iwa and AIM ninjas down below. It would be better to simply let the two groups kill each other and we sweep down to clean the remains. But, it would be beneficial to eliminate an Iwa squad and also get some information on Hanzo. We can leverage the fact that we saved them to force them to at least give up some information on Hanzo. If not, well, AIM would notice another 6 ninjas missing either. Biting her lower lip, Naori made a decision. She nudged Naruto and whispered, okay. Naruto grinned at her happily. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. Naori thought as she went through the hand seals. Putting her left hand on her mouth, she inhaled a great deal of air before exhaling flames from her mouth. Fire release. Great fireball jutsu. By her side, Ichigo went through his own set of hand seals as he blew out a fire dragon. Fire release. Fire dragon flame bullet jutsu. Naori watched with some satisfaction as the flame dragon that Ichigo blew out began to circle the fireball she had made, enhancing their own powers before attacking the enemy Iwa cell in front of them. The Uchiha clan was famous for their fire release, but in Naori's opinion, it was the Sarutobi clan that deserved the title as the best fire release user in all of the Land of Fire. The Uchiha were in some ways held back by their Sharingan as they specialized in their ocular techniques but ignored other facets of their shinobi growth after awakening their eyes. The Sarutobi on the other hand were known for setting battlefields alight. Sasuke Sarutobi had once been one of the rare few who had overwhelmed Madara Uchiha in fire jutsu back in the days of the Warring States, after all. Naori turned to her side and saw Naruto getting ready to join in the fray. Naruto, protect the AIM ninjas. What? I can help. Naruto shouted back as he batted away some loose kunai thrown at them by the enemy Iwa cell. You're the strongest amongst us. You can cover the AIM ninjas in case the Iwa cell breaks through us. Come on. Naori grunted as she twisted around a kick aimed at her head and punched the offending Iwa nin away from her. Naruto clearly seemed to be put out by the order, but he followed it, jumping in front of the stupefied AIM group as his signature chakra chains erupted from the ground, batting away any rogue Kamizuru or Iwa ninja from getting too close to them. Iruka was engaging Natsuchi Kamizuru directly as his Ashi sent air palms at the offending Iwa ninjas as well. Konoha ninja. Natsuchi growled as he slammed his hands on the ground. So Konoha is meddling in AIM affairs as well. Earth release. Earth dragon bullets jutsu. Naori observed the bullets that were sent speeding at her as the Iwa ninja's conjured earth dragon growled menacingly. Naori's left eye transformed into her Sharingan as she leaped over the bullets, reacting to the bullets with the help of her Sharingan. To her side, Ichigo growled back and sent a large stream of fire at the enemy earth dragon, whilst Haruka leaped up to one of the sides of the mountain pass before sending waves of her chakra bugs at Natsuchi, who reacted by opening his arms and sending another wave of chakra bees back as the two insect handlers fought it out. Ashi also leaped in front of one of the Iwa ninjas, hitting him with a gentle fist right in the heart, making the man's mouth explode in a cascade of blood before crumbling down dead. Naruto kept up his chain defense behind them. The remaining 4 Iwa ninjas leaped back, regrouping as they eyed the Konoha ninjas warily. Their leader from the Kamizuru clan eyed Naori, having obviously pegged her as the leader of the squad, impassively turning his eyes to the ground the moment he saw the flicker of red in Naori's left eye. Well, at least he isn't an idiot. Only an idiot looks directly into a Sharingan. Formation A. The Iwa ninja murmured silently as they suddenly leaped back into action, sending a barrage of kunai and shuriken at them. Naori, Haruka, Hizashi and Ichigo jumped into the air to avoid the attack as Naruto made another wall of chains erupt from the ground behind them to make sure the offending kunai and shuriken did not injure the AIM ninjas. The kunai and shuriken bounced harmlessly off of Naruto's chains. Wind release. Great breakthrough jutsu. One of the Iwa ninjas intoned silently as a powerful blast of chakra-laced wind raced at them in the air. Caught in the air, Haruka acted quickly, sending a bunch of chakra-eating bugs at the attack whilst Hizashi sent another blast from his air palm. But the attack from the wind release jutsu was coming too fast to dissipate. Down below, another Iwa ninja sent another attack in conjunction. Fire release. Phoenix flames jutsu. 90 degrees behind the 4 of them, the third Iwa ninja arrived and sent another barrage of kunai and shuriken at them. From their original position, Natsuchi sent another barrage of bees, this time carrying explosive tags as well. The coordinated attack was well executed, Naori admitted. As the 4 attacks converged on her, Ichigo, Hisashi, and Haruka, who were still midair and unable to change their positions, were caught like a deer in headlights. "Shit," Ichigo murmured as he went through a set of hand seals to counterattack. Naori shook her head at him. "He needs to conserve his chakra. I can get us out of this predicament. But after that, I will be worse than useless." Her left eye's Sharingan started to rotate, forming a petal formation as Naori activated her Mangekyo Sharingan. Taking a deep breath and expelling her chakra from each chakra point in her body, Naori felt a vague chakra being formed around, and her squad still midair. Susanoo. Just as the 4 attacks of the Iwa ninjas could collide with the Konoha ninja, a bright yellow chakra erupted into being above Naori, deflecting the attacks and protecting Naori and her teammates. Naori put her hand in the tiger seal, trying desperately to maintain the Susanoo ribsage as long as possible. "I had a hard time maintaining this even with 2 Mangekyo Sharingan. With only 1, it's draining my chakra way too fast. I can't keep this up." The Susanoo dissolved into the air as quickly as it came as Naori became limp, utterly exhausted by the burst of power she had just expelled from her body. Before she and her teammates could plummet down in a heap, Naruto's chains erupted from the ground and caught them midair, letting them down onto the ground gently. "What kind of power was that?" one of the Iwa ninjas asked, shuffling nervously with a head tilt towards Natsuchi, who observed the Konoha ninja with hard eyes. "That seemed otherworldly, even though it only lasted for a moment. We can't fight against something like that, can we, Captain? I thought that the evolution of the Sharingan was just a myth that the Tsuchikage mentioned now and then as a story to scare us about the Uchiha," Natsuchi murmured as he observed the Konoha ninjas being caught and placed down by chakra chains. It seems that he wasn't being hyperbolic. "Still, this is a great opportunity. If we can capture even one of them, we can get intel on what Konoha is up to. Come on, this is not an opportunity we can waste." The avatar of the storm god. Only Madara Uchiha was credited with that technique. Is it a secret forbidden jutsu of the Uchiha clan? Not so fast. Ichigo muttered as he summoned his staff and elongated it, attacking the 4 Iwa ninjas as he quickly shuffled out of the chains. "Naruto. Get Naori. After she uses that technique, she can't fight or even move properly. Hisashi, Haruka, cover me." Naori fell to the ground face first, her body aching all over. She never understood how the Uchiha of the legends, like Madara or Izuna, used the Susanoo so liberally. It drained her chakra reserve so fast that she couldn't maintain it for more than a moment. And without 2 Mangekyo Sharingan, she could barely maintain control over the avatar. "What's worse is that I have larger than normal chakra reserves. To actually maintain the avatar for long, I would need abnormally large reserves. Reserves that I don't have." As Ichigo attacked the Iwa group, flanked by Haruka and Hisashi, Naruto flashed forward, kneeling next to Naori. Silently, he slung Naori over his shoulder and then retreated back to the position she had assigned to him, protecting the AIM ninjas from any interference from the enemy Iwa ninjas. Naori grunted at the backside of Naruto. "TTH, thank you." As Ichigo pierced one Iwa ninja with his staff, felling him, Naruto gently let Naori down next to him. Naori shakily took out a kunai and held it in her hand, eyeing the fight in front of her with exhausted eyes. She turned to Naruto, took a deep breath, and repeated. "Thank you. There's no need to thank me for just picking you up." Naruto smiled at her with a bright smile before he caught a stray shuriken racing at him and threw it to the side. "I think any Konoha ninja would have done the same." Naori nodded as she glanced back at the 6 AIM ninjas who were whispering at each other but still standing rigidly. "Have they spoken with you?" "Not at all." Naruto shook his head. "They seem to be keeping to themselves. And the wetland accent is too heavy for me to discern by just trying to strain my ears. I know I ordered you to stay here, but is there anything you could do to help Ichigo, Haruka, and Hisashi speed things up?" Naori questioned as she winced. A jolt of pain lanced through her back, making her feel the consequences of the Susanoo again. Biting her teeth to keep the small gasp of pain from escaping, she tilted her head questioningly. Naruto hummed before nodding. Putting his hand into the tiger seal, Naruto activated an illusion. Jinjutsu. Bringer of Darkness Jutsu. Pure darkness enveloped the 3 remaining Iwa ninjas. Natsuchi frowned, trying to break through the illusion, but beside him, Hisashi and Haruka struck. Hisashi plunged his gentle fist into the Iwa ninja flanking Natsuchi's right, making him crumple into a heap as it struck him in the heart. Haruka grappled with the Iwa ninja to his left as chakra-sucking bugs crept from her onto the Iwa ninja, sucking the poor fellow of his chakra. Natsuchi, feeling the life force of his comrades ebb, jumped backward. This was a mistake. Time to retreat. Nonetheless, I got something valuable out of this mission. Konoha is meddling in AIM. Not so fast. Ichigo repeated as he jumped after the Iwa squad leader. Can't have you blabbing about us to the Tsuchikage. Before Natsuchi could respond, Ichigo appeared above him. With a heavy heave, Ichigo slammed his staff on Natsuchi's head, slamming him to the ground with enough force to make Natsuchi fall unconscious immediately, bleeding from his head. Ichigo rounded his staff and fell graciously next to Natsuchi's body. That's all of them taken care of. What do you Konoha shinobi want? Yahiko demanded as he leaned forward with a pinched expression. They protected us. But not for free. I can see that written all over that purple-haired chick's face. We had that situation handled. You needn't have been involved. You are simply inviting the war into the land of wetlands. It is already here. The man who looked vaguely like a younger version of the third Hoage pointed out with a shrug as the redeed, why was his hair so similar to Nagato's? Sealed the Iwa leader's unconscious body into a sealing scroll. Though Hanzo has stopped any invasion from happening unlike the Second Great Shinobi War, you are blind if you cannot see that within the shadows, Suna, Iwa and Konoha are still operating in the land of wetlands. Answer Yahiko. Came Conan's firm voice as she raised her right hand in warning as the paper clips next to her feet began to flutter dangerously. Do not think we don't know you protected us only due to some kind of material need or want. We are here to negotiate with you. Came the purple-haired woman's answer. Yahiko glanced at her. The chakra avatar that she had made had been terrifying, but it was clear to him that she could only maintain it for a second and that it took a great toll on her. She was still flushed and wincing at periodic intervals, making it clear to Yahiko that the trade-off for such a fearsome technique was not inconsequential. We protected you. In return, we want your silence and any information that you can spare about what Hanzo is doing. And why should we divulge national secrets to foreign ninjas who are currently on our territory illegally? Kaisuke murmured from beside Nagato, clutching his sword. Chakra flared from Kaisuke's body as Kai and Conan also got ready to fight. The Konoha ninja who had just tried to protect them stiffened slightly as they took their own positions. All barring one. Yahiko narrowed his eyes as he raised his hand and said, Kaisuke. Stop trying to antagonize them. It doesn't matter why they helped us, but they did. And needless violence is not the answer that the Akatsuki is fighting for. Remember that. Let's leave the hotheads to cool their heads, shall we? Came the redeed's voice as the Akatsuki snapped their head to the redeeded ninja who had protected them from stray attacks during the entire confrontation with Iwa. He was the one wielding those powerful chains and using that powerful illusion. With a hair that matched Nagato's own shade of red and blue azure eyes that looked so similar to the posters of the Yellow Flash, the redeed was raising his hands in a calm-down gesture. How about a compromise? Our leader +1 will meet your leader +1 in the middle. The rest of our squads can relax by the side. How is that? Ihiko nodded, accepting the offer. Conan, look after Kaisuke and the others. Nagato, with me. As Yahiko strode forward, he observed the purple-haired Kunoichi look at the redeed and shrug before the two started to walk up to them. Despite all the fighting, only the holes on the ground from where the redeed's chains had erupted were new sights in Takatori Pass. Yahiko had been loath to confront the Iwa squad on such a well-traveled path, but thankfully Hanzo's embargoes had dried up the path in recent months, making sure that there were no bystanders caught in the fight, thankfully. Yahiko reached the middle and waited for the purple-haired Kunoichi and the redeed to join him and Nagato in the middle. I am the leader of this Konoha team. The purple-haired Kunoichi introduced herself. My name is Naori, and this is Naruto. He's the one who stayed behind to protect you all from any stray attacks. No surnames given out. Yahiko noticed immediately before he introduced himself as well. My name is Yahiko. My friend here is Nagato. Nagato Uzumaki. The redeed murmured before a smile enveloped his face. It's an honor to meet you, here of all places, my ninth cousin thrice removed. Anik immediately seized Yahiko as Nagato froze next to him. How does he know Nagato's old clan name? Wait a minute, his cousin. How do you know my surname? Nagato demanded quietly, his rinnegan blazing in the afternoon sun. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. The self-proclaimed Naruto answered back with a dazzling grin, ignoring the spluttering protests of Naori next to him. Like I said, nice to meet you. Another Uzumaki. Yahiko murmured, biting his thumb slightly as he looked over the redeed again, mentally comparing the similarities he saw. The red hair was obvious, but beyond that their high cheekbones were the only similarities Yahiko saw. Still, that doesn't explain how you knew him immediately, Konoha ninja. The family stone in Uzushio still updates itself to any new blood for those born of Uzushio blood. To those who gave their blood to the slab as a part of the Uzumaki birthing rituals. Naruto shrugged as he glanced at Yahiko before turning back to Nagato. Fuzo Uzumaki was sent to AIM as an ambassador during the Second Great Shinobi War. There, she found love and in order to settle down, she willingly left all her positions and settled down with a man named Ice, according to the records of one Arashi Uzumaki. Your name is recorded in the old family slab as a result. Nagato seemed overwhelmed by the information, taking a long step back. Yahiko himself didn't really know what to think. We walked out here on the assumption that we were going to talk about Hanzo. Not this. What are you doing, Naruto? Naori hissed at Naruto, her eyes flashing. Is this guy really your cousin? Surely with your Sharingan, you could see the similarities in our chakra. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her, prompting Naori to do as he said. Naori turned her Sharingan onto Nagato, noting the truth in Naruto's statement. They have the same initial chakra signature. That is only shared among clansmen and kin. So it's true. Naruto and Ms. Kushina have a cousin in aim of all places. I would give a spiel about how you join us, Nagato. Naruto smiled warily at his newfound cousin. But, I know that it would be useless. All I can do is inform you that there is another Uzumaki in Konoha as well, and that should you need any help, we would be more than willing to help you should you contact us. That is enough. Yahiko bit out, outwardly calm, but his emotions were raging inside. I know, Nagato. The very thought that there is family for him in Konoha is going to cloud his mind. I don't want to seem selfish, but me and Konan are more family to Nagato than anyone else is. There is more to family than blood. We are here to negotiate, not discuss clan relationships. To be blunt, Captain Naori, we don't know what Hanzo is doing barring the fact that he is preventing another tripartite invasion of the land of wetlands. Ours is an illegal ninja group within the ranks of a megakur, and as such, we aren't afforded information that may be useful to any of the three great nations surrounding our own. If that is all, I must demand your team leave the land of wetlands immediately. Illegal is correct. Came a foreign voice. All of their heads turned heavenward to one of the cliffs on the pass. Standing on the cliff's edge were two squads of AIM ninjas. Yahiko's blood ran cold as he recognized the leader. Who wouldn't? Tall, with long blonde hair reaching down to his back and a scar on his right cheek. A dark hat on his head and a respirator on his mouth. His loose wetsuit-like flak jacket of a megakur. Underneath his wetsuit, he donned a dark, short-sleeved midriff shirt which exposed his lower abdomen. Illegal Konoha ninja and Akatsuki together. It seems I am in luck. A single stone to get rid of two irritants. Above the Akatsuki and Team 20, Hanzo of the Salamander looked down upon them menacingly. Chapter 7. Hidden Rain Arc 3. Hanzo. Yahiko recognized as he took a step back, sweat trickling down from his forehead. The Omegakur's village chief's blonde hair was swaying in the afternoon wind as he looked down upon them. I've gotten strong. Nagato and Konan too. But we're nowhere close to the strength needed to take on Hanzo. Even together. Nagato immediately took positions, and the purple-haired Konoha squad captain activated her Sharingan looking at Hanzo. She stepped forward and spread her arms in a calming manner. Lord Hanzo. Me and my group are an emissary sent to you by Lord Hoage. This is, I am afraid, a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, is it? Hanzo's voice had a mocking undertone to it. I have misunderstood nothing, Uchiha. My salamanders heard everything. Do not try to delay for time using such petty tactics. The purple-haired Uchiha cursed as she leaned back. Before Yahiko could bite back another response, he was prematurely interrupted by the red-deeded Uzumaki, who claimed to be Nagato's cousin. He turned to Naori and said, Ms. Naori, take the rest of the squad with you and retreat back to Takatori. Take the Akatsuki with you. How can we trust you? Came Yahiko's wary question whilst Naori looked at him with disbelieving eyes. She spoke up against the idea. Naruto, that is Hanzo of the Salamander. No matter how strong you are, you cannot take him on. I must if we are to get out of this alive. Naruto was uncharacteristically calm, all of his mischievousness and joviality having long disappeared. I will delay him and the rest of the AIM ninjas. Take the squad in the Akatsuki. Keep my cousin safe. This is madness, Nagato muttered next to them. We cannot take on Hanzo. No one can. That's why we the Akatsuki tried to reach an accord with him. Please. Naruto's voice was calm and measured, but with a pleading undertone to it as he looked Naori directly in the eye. Naori tried to look away and assess the situation rationally, but the severity of the situation crashed down upon her. Naruto's unflinching eyes met her obsidian eyes, and Naori observed how thick Naruto's normally short and small whiskers were becoming. His face set upon a serious face that looked entirely out of place on his normally jovial and mischievous face. Naori swallowed the lump growing in her throat and nodded. Before Yahiko could respond, her Sharingan flashed as she looked at the orange-haired leader of the Akatsuki directly in the eye, making the man slump forward in a genjutsu. Before Nagato could respond, Ichigo jumped up behind him and struck him in the back of the neck, picking him up gently. Ichigo turned to Naruto with a grim look, but with a glint of respect in his eyes. Naruto nodded back as Naori and Ichigo lifted up Yahiko and Nagato and left. On the far sides of the Takatori Pass, the rest of the Akatsuki and Konoha squad left as well, in the direction of the nearby town. A few AIM ninjas behind Hanzo left to pursue them, but they wouldn't be enough to defeat the collective strength of Team 20 and the Akatsuki. Watching them go, Naruto turned around to face Hanzo in the eye, who had till then observed the proceedings with an amused air about him. Well, I am partially acquainted with young Mr. Yahiko over there. I am afraid I don't know who you are, Konoha ninja. Hanzo flexed his hands in anticipation of the fight he was clearly looking for. I recognize the Uchiha, the Sarutobi, the Hyuga, and the Abiram. And while you do look remarkably like Yahiko's sidekick, you aren't him. Perhaps a relative living in the land of fire. Naruto didn't answer immediately. He looked upwards at the cliff, observing Hanzo with something akin to curiosity. Tilting his head forward, allowing his deep red hair to fall to the side slightly, Naruto squinted at Hanzo. It's like he has an arrogant air to him. The older Hanzo, the one I reanimated, didn't have it. Perhaps defeat to Nagato and Mifune did wonders for him. I wonder. And he isn't under the influence of the Kodomatsu Kami. No. His assumption was wrong or born out of desperation, it seems. Danzo's manipulations and his arrogance led to his original fall from grace, it seems. Deep inside his mindscape, Naruto felt the yin imprint of Kurama stirring, sending a questioning feeling toward him. Naruto placed a hand on his chest, calming him and Ashura, who was also buzzing on his chest down. No full power. Both of you. Like I said before. We fight relatively. Besides. Let us see if Hanzo of the Salamander actually lives up to the hype, believe it. Looking up, Naruto simply smirked at Hanzo, letting his serious demeanor fall apart slightly. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Hanzo raised a visible eyebrow. Ho. And Uzumaki. I thought all of you were scattered to the winds, even if some of you were still alive. Where have you been hiding? The only other Uzumaki known is that habanero brat in your village, isn't it? Enough talk, Naruto mumbled, looking at Hanzo with a curious gaze. I am not here to give you a lesson on my clan's history, though that would admittedly be awesome. I am here to fight you. So let's. Young man, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation here, Hanzo replied as he jumped down from the cliff onto the pass, landing nimbly as he twirled slightly to face Naruto face to face. I am not the antagonist here. You are. Your nation has violated my nation's neutrality. I am simply meeting force with force. A just response, don't you think? And anyone who knows of my reputation knows that no one barring the cages can stand up to me. I am giving you an out, child. Take it. Leave the wetlands. Return to the land of fire. Never look back. It will be a mercy for both you and me. You will live and I shall have stayed my blade from the flesh of a duty-bound soldier. That's an offer that I would normally take. I don't want to tussle with someone like you. Naruto shrugged as he dusted his flak jacket off calmly. You are after all doing what any national leader would. Protect your own neutrality and the prosperity of your own village. But unfortunately, we are on opposite sides. So let's just get down to it, you know. Let the kami know that I tried, Hanzo murmured softly into the air. For a second neither of them moved. Above them, in the cliffs encompassing the pass, the AIM ninjas tensed up in anticipation. The rocky floor gleamed in the afternoon sun before clouds started to gather. As small droplets of rain began to fall from the skies, both ninjas sprang into action. Hanzo dashed forward, and within a split second, he was in front of Naruto, slashing his Kusarigama at Naruto. All within a second of the beginning of the fight. To the AIM ninjas who were observing it was as if Hanzo had moved instantaneously and had teleported towards Naruto. Naruto grunted as his body flickered immediately, moving backward to dodge the attack. The phantom slash generated a small air wave that hit the rocky wall behind Naruto, cracking it. Naruto kept a steady gaze on the Kusarigama. It's poisoned. Don't want that hitting me. And he's fast. Well, looks like this will be good. Naruto sprang into action as well. Taking a kunai out of his holster, he probed the Kusarigama by attacking at it with a downward slash. Hanzo blocked it, not moving from his position as he narrowed his eyes at Naruto, a little put out at the sheer strength that Naruto had pushed into the slash. Hanzo pushed back, forcing Naruto to let go of the clash of the weapons and take a step back. Hanzo's eyes gleamed as his Kusarigama flashed and came down on Naruto's unprotected chest. Naruto frowned and quickly pushed himself to the side, letting the Kusarigama strike the ground, forming a small fissure at the sheer strength of Hanzo's attack. Naruto whistled, looking at the fissure. Man. That looks like Gramitsune tapped an angry toe on it. He's good. And he's not even taking me seriously. Well, nor am I, but that's beside the point. I shouldn't take him so lightly, however I don't want to be poisoned to death. That would be highly inconvenient. I am sorry, child, Hanzo murmured as he flashed through several hand seals quickly as he pulled his Kusarigama out of the ground. You've walked into my trap. Fire release. Exploding flame formation jutsu. Exploding tags coated in fire release chakra appeared on the dusty path below Naruto before they streamed towards him. Naruto leaped up to dodge the attack, but the tags just followed him into the air, catching him by surprise. Naruto's slightly flushed look captured the look of his surprise at the situation. The tags wrapped themselves around Naruto's left leg before starting to explode simultaneously as flames started to explode out of them onto Naruto's body, promising a painful death. Naruto frowned grimly before pushing his chakra and conducting the substitution jutsu instantaneously with a small log nearby. The tags blew the poor log apart as it fell into the ground, burned and charred, whilst Naruto whistled looking at the poor condition of the log. That is one strong jutsu. That's an instant kill if it sticks. That is usually enough to take care of run-of-the-mill above-average Jonin ninjas, Hanzo observed as he shifted to his full height, slinging his Kusurigama over his shoulder. That is impressive. An instantaneous substitution in the middle of an enemy jutsu being executed. You are definitely a strong one, Uzumaki. Feel proud. Very few have been acknowledged as such. Irritated Uzumaki simply shrugged as he snapped out another kunai onto his free hand and crouched low. It's definitely an honor, Lord Hanzo of the Salamander. Hanzo grinned, somewhat impressed and somewhat fired up by the nonchalant attitude shown by his opponent. His crouch, it's perfectly balanced. Crouching low enough for a lower attack and a crouch high enough for a leaping attack. Perfectly balanced on his forward right foot, ready to leap sideways too at a fraction of a second. He's good. But that stance, the last time I saw that was with Jiraiya of the Sannin. I wasn't aware that Jiraiya had taken another apprentice. Naruto jumped forward, his kunai flashing blue as he coated his kunai with chakra. Hanzo did the same thing with his Kusurigama and held his weapon horizontally in front of him to intercept the attack from the Uzumaki. Pushing back by pushing his chakra into his Kusurigama, Naruto stumbled a bit and Hanzo took advantage of the opening, delivering a powerful kick in Naruto's gut. Naruto was sent tumbling back for a second as he regained his balance and stood up a little distance away from Naruto. Hanzo spread his Kusurigama wide of his gut and sent it flying towards Naruto, not letting up from his attack. As the poisoned Kusurigama slashed down at Naruto's form, Naruto caught the handle portion of the Kusurigama with perfect precision and pulling Hanzo towards him against his will. Hanzo stood his ground, coating his feet with chakra and placing him firmly onto the ground. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly and let go of the Kusurigama, feeling the poison starting to drip, not willing to let the poison drip on him. I don't have Kurama anymore. I can't afford to get such fatal poison attacks on me anymore. Still, he's trickier than I thought. And both of us aren't even close to fighting at full strength. As Hanzo jumped a few meters into the air after catching his Kusurigama, he flashed through several hand seals. Fire release. Great fire whirlwind jutsu. Hanzo landed in front of Naruto and punched his fist into the ground. The ground erupted into flames as two massive whirlwinds of fire formed and sped toward Naruto, destroying everything in front of them. Their deep orange hue gleamed, seemingly emboldened by the afternoon sun as they continuously increased their speed. Hanzo, not one for doing things half-assed, took a deep breath and exhaled a huge gust of wind behind the whirlwinds, doing a silent and seal-less wind release attack that not only increased the speed of the whirlwinds but made the flames wilder and more dangerous as they burnt everything to ashes. Naruto leaped backward a few times to create space as he observed the two whirlwinds speeding at him. He grinned. That's an amazing technique. He truly is cage level, it seems. Well, time to fight fire with fire. Closing his eyes, Naruto pulled himself into his mindscape. Grasping at his fire release chakra, he opened his eyes again as he raised his right hand. Lava release. Rasen Shuriken. The lava nucleus formed in his right hand as shuriken blades made out of pure wind formed alongside the aforementioned lava nucleus. Naruto heaved and threw the attack into the incoming two whirlwinds and activated the dragon seal. Just before the attack hit the two fire whirlwinds, his lava Rasen Shuriken expanded, meeting the attack head-on. Naruto had barely a second to leap up into one of the cliff sides as the resulting explosion blew apart the pass. At the far side of the pass, Hanzo jumped up onto another cliffside as well, observing the clash of the two attacks with a curious gaze. Raising his head, he leaned back on the cliff. I didn't know the Uzumaki were inheritors of the lava release bloodline limit. There's more to you than I realize. That was a powerful attack. I applaud you. Watching the entire pass burn to ashes and char down below, Hanzo truly meant the praise. The entire pass was either ashes, chars or small embers, burning the age-old signs near the small dusty road into crisp. Some of the trees next to the road were uprooted and sent flying into the air, and the ground was still seeing red, evidently still hot from the clash of the two powerful techniques. Hanzo jumped forward and slammed his hands onto the ground, ready to activate the second part of his earlier technique. But it seems our fight will end here, young Uzumaki. Behold, the most beautiful technique you will ever see. Fire release. Eruption jutsu. Before Naruto could process the statement, the moment Hanzo's hand slammed onto the ground exploded into a general eruption of powerful and extremely hot flames rushing into the sky, turning the afternoon rain deep red for a while. The deep reddish-orange color of the flames generated enough heat to melt even a tsunami. It was one of Hanzo's greatest ninjutsu, the technique with which he had burned the enemy forces of the tripartite invasion back during the Second Great Shinobi War. Naruto leaped upwards, observing the eruption with a gaping mouth. The deep color of the flames was reflected in his azure eyes, as even the torrential rains of the land of wetlands failed to dissolve the great eruption of fire from beneath Hanzo's fingers. Naruto took a deep breath and raised his left hand, absorbing the chakra within the flames, and coated his skin with his own chakra, letting the chakra-less flames lick over his frame without success. Still mid-air, Naruto then took out a scroll from his pocket and unsealed it before throwing it above him. The scroll glowed brightly before exploding into a shower of water and falling onto the flames down below. As Naruto landed softly onto the burnt ground, he stood up straight and clapped earnestly. "You were right. That was the most beautiful jutsu I have ever seen. The sheer colors in those flames, it is simply unbeatable." Hanzo let out a slight noise of friendly grumbling as he observed Naruto survive the attack. He spread his hands and replied. "I thank you for the praise. In turn, I must praise you as well. Such a powerful sealing scroll, well, I shouldn't have thought of anything less from an Uzumaki. Let me be the first among us to deliver praise to your clan's abilities. It should be courtesy on my part to reply in kind, Hanzo," Naruto declared as he clasped his hands. "I shall show you my most beautiful jutsu as well. Believe it." Naruto unclasped his hands as a large barrier with a large spiraling sphere of chakra formed inside the barrier. The sphere forming inside split into 5 smaller versions. The sheer golden color of the sphere reminded Hanzo of the greatest riches that any merchant or businessman in this world could aspire for. It glinted proudly even in the rain and indeed, seemed to glow. Swirling rapidly between Naruto's hands, Hanzo had no illusion of the fact that if the attack hit him, then it would be a pain to get through. That was if it didn't kill him. Naruto then threw the swirling barrier from his hand, hurtling it in Hanzo's direction. Amenemehashira. The barrier sphere hurtled towards Hanzo, who immediately pulled his kusarigama, coating it with his potent chakra. He slashed down at the attack, cleaving through it. To Hanzo's surprise, the barrier exploded in a fury, throwing Hanzo backward and forcing Hanzo to regain his balance a few feet away. Meanwhile, the spheres inside the bigger barrier sphere broke loose and launched themselves in multiple directions. Where his aim ninjas were watching the fight. The spheres landed themselves into the panicking aim ninjas, sending many of them packing. Turning his head back to Naruto, Hanzo narrowed his eyes a bit. The attack was strong. It's as if I am fighting another Cage again. The sheer scale of the chakra we're throwing around is definitely Cage level. Well, in that case indeed, the attack was beautiful, Naruto. Other than my eruption technique, I declare that your Amenemehashira is the most beautiful technique out there. Let it be known far and wide." Naruto landed in front of Hanzo. He cleaved right through the attack. Not even Indra Otsutsuki could do that. He's far more powerful than I actually gave him credit for. Hanzo started to advance forward, his kusarigama slung over his shoulder nonchalantly. "Your strength is admirable, Naruto. It has been many seasons since I was pushed back like this. Why, the last time I felt this exhilarated was when I fought Chio of the Sand. Her puppets can bring an entire nation down to its knees. But I hate the niceties we are observing here, little Uzumaki. Why don't we fight at full power?" "Well, I doubt that it would be good for the surrounding area. Especially your ninjas who are looking at us like we're ghosts that were risen in the deep of the night." Naruto chuckled as he pointed at the white-faced aim ninjas who were observing their high-intensity fight with trembling breaths. After all, it wasn't always one would observe a Cage-level fight. Besides, if I went full power, I would absolutely smack you into the ground, believe it. Unless it is absolutely necessary, I'm fighting you with the same amount of power you possess, Hanzo. They know how to handle me going full out. There are protocols in place." Hanzo also chuckled in reply. His blonde hair swayed in the rainy wind as he continued to advance at a sedate pace. "So, are you ready, young Uzumaki? It's now or never, old man." "Old man," Hanzo repeated slowly before letting out a snort of amusement. "I must admit. It has also been long since anyone had the sheer guts to say such a thing to my face." "Very well. Naruto Uzumaki, brace yourself. You are the first person since Hiruzen Sarutobi who will witness me at my full power. Summoning Jutsu. Ibuse, King of the Salamanders." Hanzo slammed his hand onto the ground as a sealing grid spread throughout the ground below Hanzo. In a large cloud of dust, a giant brown salamander with a light color underside was summoned. Towering over the pass, the salamander named Ibuse glared down at the now puny form of Naruto Uzumaki, who was simply sporting a grin as he bared his kunai. Hanzo looked at Naruto impassively for a second as he patted the head of Ibuse before standing up straight, ready to attack. Summoning technique. Ibuse poisoning jutsu. Ibuse took a deep breath and exhaled a massive cloud of purple-colored poison, sending the massive poison wave toward Naruto. Naruto watched the poison cloud racing towards him impassively before crouching down and sitting on the floor with his hands on the boar symbol. As the cloud enveloped Naruto, Hanzo peered towards him with something akin to a mix of glee and concern. With golden-colored markings forming underneath his eyes and a concentric circular dot formed on his forehead, Naruto stood up, breathing in the poisonous air around him with no problem other than a few rough coughs into his fists. Nature chakra filters the air. As long as it is concentrated in the mouth and nose. Thank Kami for Sage Mode. Still, the poison isn't going to be fatal or even harmful to me, but it will definitely make me sluggish. Hopefully, Sage Mode covers me here. Hanzo watched curiously from atop Ibuse. Those markings, so he is a sage. I haven't faced one in my entire life. Very well then. Ibuse. Fire release. Salamander's spit jutsu. Hanzo let out a massive stream of flames from his mouth as he exhaled pure fire chakra. Ibuse shuffled before spitting into the flames that Hanzo generated, making the flames glow imperiously as they traveled towards Naruto, hitting him at point-blank range at full power. Naruto tumbled backward, his flak jacket on fire. Those flames. They appeared almost instantaneously. So, the poisonous cloud not only poisons, but acts as a conduit to enhance any other attacks he makes. Ingenious bastard. Thinking quickly, Naruto unveiled a scroll and slammed the fire chakra into it, sealing the flames surrounding him into the scroll. Then he rebalanced himself, stopping himself from tumbling further and standing up. Wobbling slightly as he stood up, Naruto decided to take Hanzo up on his offer of fighting seriously. He flicked his eyes towards the burnt ground, trying to feel for the chakra that he was continuously letting go into the ground. Feeling the perfect thrum of yin chakra, Naruto grinned slightly. He clasped his hands. Uzumaki Secret Fuinjutsu. Sage Mode. Dead Demon Prison Seal. Chains and chakra erupted from the already charred ground as calligraphy extended from below Naruto's clasped hands. The seals continuously expanded, even reaching the northern parts of the cliffs of the pass that Hanzo and Naruto were fighting in. But before Naruto could continue with the technique to its full fruition, Hanzo struck. Hanzo jumped off Ibuse's head and swung his Kusarigama coated in fire release chakra at Naruto's head, forcing Naruto to break his concentration and let go of the dead demon prison seal. Naruto leaped away as the fire-coated Kusarigama exploded upon contact with the ground, destroying the nearby boulders into teeny-tiny pieces. Shit. Naruto cursed mentally as he had to let go of the seal. Maintaining it for too long without activating it was a dangerous proposition even for him. The chains that erupted from the ground sank back into the ground as Naruto recovered quickly and sprang forward, his kunai coming down in a flash towards Hanzo. Ibuse interrupted Naruto's attack by leaping out of the ground in the middle of Naruto's path, forcing Naruto back once more. Ibuse flexed his lighter underside as Hanzo jumped back onto his head and then sent another wave of the salamander's deadly and fiery spit at Naruto. Now, having expected the attack, Naruto's body flickered away immediately, allowing the spit to dig a deep hole into the rocky cavern behind him as Naruto appeared above Hanzo and Ibuse. He widened his arms and formed another Amenemehashira and launched it at Hanzo at point-blank range. Smart boy. Hanzo thought grudgingly as he saw the technique hurtling towards him at extreme speed. If I dodge, Ibuse will bear the brunt of it and probably desummon automatically. If not, I am hit. I shall have to contend with this myself. Bringing his Kusarigama towards his head, Hanzo gritted his teeth as Naruto's technique made contact with his blade. The sheer force of the attack forced him to grip his chakra onto Ibuse, who howled and flinched at the pain caused by it. Hanzo mentally apologized to his summon and barely had enough time to deflect the rotating sphere. But the moment he did that, the sphere exploded into a myriad of explosions, launching Hanzo right off Ibuse. Hanzo fell down to the ground in a cascade of pain as blood burst from his left side. The sneaky shit. He set a timer on his own chakra. His chakra control is picture perfect. Hanzo wobbled to his feet before summoning his Kusarigama back to him. Underneath the howl that had ripped out of him due to the sheer pain of the Amenemehashira's explosion, Hanzo saw an opening. Having let the scream rip out and settle down, Hanzo surged back onto Ibuse's head, unwilling to give Naruto the advantage in the fight. He placed his fingers into a familiar T-pose as Naruto's eyes widened. The air crackled with tension as Hanzo let go of his chakra liberally and merged it with Ibuse's own. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Two more Hanzos atop two more Ibuses emerged to the right and left of Hanzo. Eyes gleaming, Hanzo went through a set of familiar hand seals again as all three of the Ibuses spat out salamander spit once again. Fire release. Combination salamander's spit jutsu. The sound reverberated throughout the canyon for a second. Naruto felt the imminent danger and predicted it as well, but could not prevent himself from dodging. The three salamander's spits combined with the three Hanzo's fiery waves to create a majestic tsunami of flames that covered the entire pass. Fiery waves of flame launched themselves at Naruto with no respite. And despite their obvious power, with three Hanzos providing thrice the control, the flames spread thrice as fast. In the face of the imminent danger, Naruto didn't have time to do anything but put both of his hands in front of him in a defensive pose. The flames washed over him like hellfire being released by the Shinigami himself. Naruto didn't scream aloud, but a silent grunt of utter agony escaped him as the entire forest behind him was set ablaze by the fierce fire tsunami that Hanzo had conjured. Satisfied with himself, Hanzo allowed the clones to dissipate into two clouds of smoke. The wave passed by Naruto after a few hellish seconds, having burnt everything but Naruto's chakra-resistant fishnet shirt and standard issue pants. As Naruto slumped to the ground, his burning flak jacket fell beside him. The sheer scale of this jutsu. Naruto wondered as he ate dirt, slumping to the ground. No wonder pervy Sage thought that Hanzo was undefeatable. Even with Sage mode, I couldn't deflect it at all. I could have, in 6-path Sage mode, but still, this is a huge feat. The forest that was behind me is practically gone. Evaporated. You are a powerful child, Hanzo muttered as he clutched his bleeding side. His head felt slightly light as he crouched on Ibus's head. I can count on one hand those who have pushed me this far. The sheer amount of chakra exhaustion and physical exhaustion I feel is second to none. But it is time for you to die. You fought bravely and have granted your comrades half an hour already. Goodbye Naruto Uzumaki, Crimson Sentinel of Konoha. Without prompt, Ibus raised his right hand and pushed down on Naruto's frame with a sickening crunch. Hanzo felt a sense of accomplishment. The Takatori Pass was silent. After the massive fight that had prevailed for the last half an hour, it felt like a mistake for the symphony of battle to fall silent. But it only lasted for a second as the tension in the atmosphere dissipated for a few moments. Hanzo was about to hop off when Ibus grunted in pain. Hanzo narrowed his gaze just before Ibus was thrown back along with Hanzo. Hanzo and Ibus managed to jump back with their balance intact, but it was clear that something was afoot. Hanzo could make out a blurry figure as Naruto stood up, bleeding from the sides. Naruto wobbled to his feet and grinned at Hanzo. His face was pinched and twisted by the pain he was feeling, but his eyes blazing with mischievousness. Is that a new epithet? Like the Sannin? That's a cool name you know. I'll treasure it for the rest of my life, believe it. Hanzo laughed disbelievingly, letting out a snort. The destroyed surroundings rippled with the sound of laughter. The rain grew heavier and the gloominess of the day began to increase. Not even the second Kazuki had stood up from that attack when I sent him running with his tail between his legs. For that, I must applaud you. Naruto stood up to the full length of his height. He slicked his hair backward and he grinned. The evening rain parted slowly as the sunshine came back into the destroyed pass. As the surroundings glittered and danced in the embrace of the sun once more, Naruto's red hair seemed to gleam in the sky. His hair was like a beacon that could be seen far and wide. His glinting azure eyes seemed otherworldly, as if they could peer into a world that Hanzo couldn't even fathom to begin understanding. Hanzo. The strongest ninja in the center of the elemental nations. Called the strongest of the strong. Naruto murmured loudly enough for both Ibus and Hanzo to hear. Grinning, Naruto let the sunlight shine on the back of his hair as he pointed resolutely at Hanzo. Let me make something clear. There can only be one strongest of the strong here. And that man is I. The sheer strength of the declaration sent vibration running throughout the humid air, making Hanzo's blonde hair freeze up slightly. Hanzo chuckled, smoothing the back of his hair, coating it with blood that was still dripping from his side. Very well, Naruto Uzumaki. Show me how you can dance. Naruto put his hand in the snake seal and flared his chakra, forming a pillar of light blue chakra that pierced even the very sky. For a second, the sheer amount and density of chakra that Naruto flared even managed to blot out the sun, returning the land into darkness for a second more before the chakra phased through. Tension crackled in the air as Naruto grunted and molded his chakra, making his very constitution unstable as his hands trembled to maintain the snake hand seal. Naruto flared his chakra again as Hanzo brought his Kusarigama up to make sure that the amount of dust and soot that Naruto was throwing up into the air inadvertently didn't hit him in the face. Finding the right ratio for his attack, Naruto looked directly at Hanzo and smirked. Uzumaki's secret Fuinjutsu. The deep adamantine chain's emergence. Behind him, where the forest once stood before being torched by Hanzo, the signature chakra chains of the Uzumaki clan emerged. But they were small in number as was usual. Instead, a veritable forest of chakra chains erupted from the ground. From every inch of the ground, golden chakra chains that had made the Uzumaki clan feared throughout the nations rose up. Jostling past the burnt ashes of the trees and leaves, these chains grew in height, reaching as tall as 40 feet as they towered over the destroyed pass, its golden links twinkling in the evening sun. As the sunlight was reflected on its links, the entire pass, even the parts that were hidden from view due to the darkness of the cliff shadows, were brought into the light. The chains then poised themselves towards Hanzo and Ibus, both of whom were watching the spectacle in front of them with an impressed glint in their eyes. Just before they could dive into the chains stopped as Naruto raised his hand. Smiling, Naruto spoke up. So, are you ready, old man? Let's level the playing field. Hanzo declared as he dredged up the last remnants of his chakra and jumped onto the ground in front of Ibus. An entire summoning grid was summoned beneath Hanzo's hands. Summoning Jutsu. Norris. Queen of the Salamanders. Ichus. Prince of the Salamanders. Two large plumes of smoke enveloped the field as two large salamanders, comparable to size to Ibus, appeared on the field. The female salamander, obviously Norris, the queen of the salamanders, looked quite unlike her husband and son, both of whom were dark grayish in color with a lighter underbelly. She was deep red in color and had a light red deep pinkish underbelly. Both Norris and Ichus glanced at Ibus before Hanzo clasped his hands into another seal. Salamander's secret technique. Triple flaming salamander roll. Hanzo touched Ibus with a chakra palm, creating a powerful and thick chakra string connecting himself and Ibus as Ibus, Ichus, and Norris took up positions together by clutching each other's hands and hindquarters before they started to leak chakra into the air. Charged as it was, the chakra immediately burst into flames, lighting the three conjoined salamanders in a heavenly blue blaze that threatened to burn down even the heavens themselves. Handling the three salamanders connected to him like a yo-yo with the help of the chakra thread that he was using, Hanzo lifted them up into the air. With his free hand, he pointed at Naruto. This is the strongest technique in my arsenal. I'm ready. Are you ready? I am. Then let's go. The forest of chains launched themselves at Hanzo as he released the blazing salamander trio at Naruto. As the chains came into contact with the blazing salamanders, it was as if the gods themselves had smote the earth. A large pillar of golden chakra erupted from the clash of the two powerful techniques, burning and destroying the cliffs next to the pass. Both Naruto and Hanzo held firm as many whirlwinds formed as a result of their final clash. I won't lose. Not to him. For the future and for all those who I lost. Naruto growled mentally as he pushed his chains further, adding more chakra into his seals. I won't lose. Not to him. For the land and nation. Hanzo growled mentally as he pushed his flaming salamanders, adding more chakra via his chakra thread. Silence. And everything exploded. Everywhere. All at once. And then silence once more. It sent a wave of pain just to open his eyelids. His blonde eyebrows crunched in pain, made his entire nervous system crunch up as Hanzo opened his eyes. The scene before him was apocalyptic. Many holes and attacks had been punched into the mountains beside the pass, and the forest next to it had been utterly torched during the early part of the fight. But in front of him, Hanzo saw nothing but a gray field. In the far distance, where some evening lights could be seen even from a distance, Hanzo belatedly realized that he was seeing Takatori. Which shouldn't be possible at all, considering that Takatori was behind a mountain. Grunting, Hanzo turned his head around, ignoring the flashes of pain that threatened to paralyze him. Turning around in the puddle of his own blood, Hanzo observed the forest and wetlands behind him completely vaporized and empty. Chuckling slightly, he looked heavenwards, where a shadow had been cast over him. "You won," Hanzo rasped, finding it painful to even open his mouth. "Are my summons okay? Ibus, Norris, Ichus. Your salamanders de-summoned the moment their injuries got serious," Naruto replied back seriously as he clutched his own second and third degree burns that marred his chest with pained winces. "They're fine." Hanzo chuckled roughly, spitting out blobs of blood to add to the puddle next to him. "To think that I, Hanzo of the Salamander, was broken in battle. Like I said earlier, you're strong, kid. Never squander that strength." "I won't." Naruto agreed before he sat down and knelt to look at Hanzo clearly. "But what about you? You've clearly squandered your own strength." Before Hanzo could bite back a retort, Naruto raised a hand asking for silence. Hanzo remained silent, not wanting to anger the victor of the fight that destroyed a mountain and the wetlands surrounding them. "You know I am not talking about your prowess in battle, Hanzo." Naruto peered at Hanzo, looking at him in the eye. "The whispers from the roots of the village. You have fallen prey to them. To think that you would even attack a group of your own shinobi simply asking to facilitate peace. Where has the Hanzo, who once defeated the tripartite invasion and ruled a megacure, justly gone? Where is that man?" Defeated and not really understanding what Naruto was getting at due to the sheer amount of pain lancing through his body and nervous system, Hanzo simply asked dejectedly, "What do you want?" "I want to save the world. But I'm willing to start small. I'll start by saving you." What if Naruto becomes a time traveler sage? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.